Welcomed. However, the chair of Donegal County Council's Strategic Policy Committee on Housing says it must continue at a faster pace. To date, 1,076 Stage 1 applications have been received, with 436 approved and 639 being assessed. 118 Stage 2 grant approval applications have been submitted, 73 of those have been approved and 42 are waiting further information. Councillor Johnny McGuinness says more resources are required to ensure applications are processed faster.
I think the council needs to have more capacity in their admin to deal with these applications in a more efficient manner. Anywhere where time can be saved, it should be. If we can get a proper staff on site to administer this as fast as possible, it'll move those applications on.
Motorists are being warned that road conditions across the country are hazardous again this morning. A standard yellow warning for low temperatures and ice remains in place for the whole country until midday on Friday. Ice and freezing fog have been reported on many roads, with temperatures dropping to -7 in parts of Donegal this morning. Very high pollution levels have been recorded in the northwest. Derry City and Strabane District Council says it recognises that people are looking for alternative ways to heat homes and are using solid fuel. Very high pollution levels were recorded over the weekend, particularly in the Strabane and Newton Stewart areas. The council says officers from its Environmental Health Service will continue to undertake enforcement activities to ensure compliance with the smoky coal ban. Councillor Michael McBride has been elected chair of the Donegal ETB. He takes over the role from Councillor Barry Sweeney, while Patsy McVicker is the new deputy chair. Councillor McBride says it has been a challenging number of years for schools in the county. He says while challenges still exist in the sector, the development of Donegal schools in the future is to be welcomed.
In the last year, so many schools have taken in Ukrainian students, and that has been a massive challenge for the executive of the ETB, for the teachers themselves and for the students. I think, we look forward to the development of our schools is probably the biggest thing,
Weather now very cold this morning, with lingering patches of freezing fog slowly clearing. Frost and ice will persist through much of the day, with highest temperatures of -1 to +2 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Millionaire Raffle from the National Lottery is back. With 1 millionaire guaranteed and over €5.2 million in cash prizes to be won, it's the biggest ever. The draw's on New Year's Eve and tickets are limited. Have you got yours? The National Lottery. It could be you. Gift responsibly.
Chanel, Flowerbomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne, Hugo Boss. Where else but at McGee's Chemist this Christmas? Sponsors of the 9 till Noon show.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon show on Highland Radio.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show, with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. You're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show. 5 minutes past 9 on this chilly Tuesday morning, the 13th of December, 2022. 11 sleeps till the big man comes. It's exciting, isn't it? Hope you're very well out there and staying safe and warm. Roads are pretty good. I think the roads that are being treated. We talk an awful lot about the weather, but we can't let life grind to a halt either, can we? But the weather seems pretty. It's going to stay pretty cold until Saturday. But there's talk now that it might get a bit milder on Saturday evening, Sunday. But a cold spell could return again next week, which I don't know, some of you will like, some of you may not. Anyway, we've got loads coming up on the programme. Loads of fun as well, by the way. We've got the Say What quiz coming up for you with a €100 voucher for the Inner Show and Gateway Hotel. That's up for grabs. And car tickets as part of that. That's coming up. We also have this fantastic tie-in with our friends at McGee's Chemist. Always incredibly, incredibly generous, and we appreciate it so much. They're so good to the listeners, because we have a... what do you call those things? A basket with stuff in it? Hamper? I've been up since 5:30. We have a hamper worth over €500. That's to give away on Friday as well. But every day we've got a beautiful perfume for men and women. I think it's the men's turn today. Traditionally men's perfume. So stay tuned for that. That and so much more besides. If you want to watch the programme, see our guests, many of them, you can... Have we got music as well today? Is there... No music today. Okay, we have music coming up regularly now between now and Christmas. A lot of it locally sourced as well, which is great. Just doesn't start today. If you want to watch the program, most of our guests on it as well, of course, get onto your smart TV, go into the YouTube app or the Facebook app, and you can watch us there or on your laptop or tablet or straight in your browser on our website, highlandradio.com, and chat to us and tell us what's going on. Freezing temperatures. RFO last night officially, because, of course, when we get into our car, we get a reading from the road temperature. And you're going to get pockets where it's absolutely freezing. But the official coldest place this morning at around about 7 o'clock, I believe, was Rafo at minus 6.6 degrees. Now, I know some of you in your cars, it would have read much lower than that, but that's the official figure. It was the coldest in Ireland, minus 6.6 degrees. It's going to get colder tomorrow night as well. Right, okay, let's look at the newspapers for this Tuesday morning. The Donegal People's Press. A man charged with murdering his mother in Donegal has been sent forward for trial to the Central Criminal Court. Gunther Lowes has been charged with murdering Ruth Lowes at Convoy Dookery on April 12th, 2022. A book of evidence was served on him, who appeared for a brief hearing at Letterkenny District Court on Monday. Sergeant Gerard Dalton told the court that the Director of Public Prosecutions has consented for Lowes to be sent forward to the present sitting of the Central Criminal Court. He has been in custody at Castlereagh Prison since his arrest and was brought to court by prison officers. The Derry Journal tells us that families living in the worst affected homes built with defective blocks are this week due to receive emergency grants, which it is hoped will enable them to relocate. Emergency measures were enacted last week as families spoke of the atrocious living conditions they've been forced to endure in their unsafe dwellings. Donegal County Council offices in Carndonagh were shut down on Thursday and Friday after some of the families and other Micah homeowners announced they would stage a sit-in there if there wasn't any movement. Campaigner Paddy Diver told the paper at the time that children living in such homes were among those who had packed tents and sleeping bags and were ready to join their families. Well, hopefully now that money does come through. It has been a relief to some of those families because I've spoken to them directly. And, you know, these are people that have to contend with their home being destroyed by these defective concrete materials, but also to the dealing with people sick in the family and preparing for Christmas and everything else that everyone has to deal with, but this awful situation with their homes on top of that. The Irish Independent tells us that, according to the Taoiseach, stricter regulations are on the way for social media. Taoiseach Micheál Martin has warned that a new era of stricter rules around privacy on social media is imminent. Mr Martin was speaking in the wake of the controversy surrounding Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, who was covertly recorded in a nightclub, though he did appear to look at the camera at one point. In an interview with the Indo Daily podcast, he condemned the intrusion into Mr Varadkar's private life, saying what happened was a breach of privacy fundamentally. Mr Martin added, "I accept that in the world of social media it is an ever-present reality, perhaps, or danger. But what concerns me is the degree to which it could deter people from getting involved in politics." Okay. And this is a bit of a conversation we had last Friday. I mean, you know, this is a public space, isn't it? I'm not sure what the exact legalities of it are. But, you know, when any of us are out in a public space, you have to be conscious, don't you, that what you do is not damaging to you as much as you can. His interview comes after Mr Varadkar conceded he made errors in judgment when asked about the video, as well as his decision to leak a confidential GP contract to a friend. So it's funny, though, as soon as a politician's involved, it's like, you know, we have to do something about social media. I think there's an awful lot of stuff comes out of elected reps' mouths on Twitter and elsewhere and on Facebook and elsewhere that should be fact-checked equally as to other people's claims. I know this is about privacy, but there's always action, seemingly. There's always action when it's a politician involved. But that being said, I also do believe you're entitled to your own private life as well. So it's finding the balance there, isn't it? What's your views anyway? 086 60 25,000. The Irish Times this morning, European leaders have called for tightened anti-graft controls at the European Parliament after Belgian prosecutors seized a suitcase of cash and made a string of arrests in a sweeping investigation in suspected bribery by World Cup host Qatar. we'll read through the story a little bit here, but you have some people standing up speaking very favourably towards Qatar when others are questioning the rules workers are working under and conditions and all that type of stuff. You've got some MEPs standing up and you wonder why are they backing them so strongly? And then you see other instances as well of other MEPs standing up with really quite strong defences of other countries. And you wonder to yourself, well, what is the motivation there? That's what I always thought anyway. So we're getting an answer here as it relates to this lady. Her motivation, allegedly, was cash. Over the weekend and into yesterday, prosecutors searched the homes of 2 MEPs and office spaces in the European Parliament and placed 4 people, including an MEP, under arrest, a statement from the prosecutor's office said, because I would watch quite a bit of international media, and clips are taken from what MEPs say in Europe, and say, for instance, they were, I don't know, pro-Russia or pro-Qatar for that matter. They end up on the likes of RT, say, for instance, in Russia, and other news outlets in the Middle East. And they're not as part of overall coverage. They're framed in such a way that suggests to the people living in those countries that, European legislators are starting to call out this, that, and the other. So on the other side, you don't get. I'm trying to make a point here. I hope you get it. It's not presented in a balanced way. We get it somewhat balanced, kind of, but certainly on some of these other state-owned stations, they don't. It's just presented as disruption in Europe. It's all politicised, of course. There is a no confidence vote in Darragh O'Brien today, the housing minister. It's not going to put him up or down. There'll be a counter-government motion which will pass unanimously. The government will bring a counter-motion declaring confidence in Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien, who yesterday branded a move by the opposition to vote no confidence in him as a stunt. It comes as Mr O'Brien is set to seek Cabinet approval for a consolidated planning bill which aims to make the planning process clearer to use for both practitioners and the public. But you know what? That's all well and good. But also we have to try and clean up the mess that's already there. And we don't want bits and pieces of certain reports going missing. Well, reports in papers have suggested that people would find it more difficult to object to planning proposals as the government attempts to grapple with the housing crisis. We are contacting the 5 elected reps in Donegal. I think that's in the public interest, isn't it? To find out which they will vote in that confidence motion in Darragh O'Brien. I think we can probably guess how 4 of them will vote, maybe 5, we'll see. Bad news for mortgage holders on variable or tracker mortgages, according to the Irish Sun. Irish mortgage holders will face a further blow as the European Central Bank looks set to hike interest rates next week. But there are hopes. The Eurozone's red-hot inflation is nearing its peak, which could result in a smaller increase than originally anticipated. Following 2 consecutive interest rate hikes of 75 base point, markets are on tenterhooks to see whether the ECB will keep up the aggressive pace. This week's meeting of the ECB's Governing Council in Frankfurt, Germany, will be the final one of 2022, a year that has seen unprecedented price shocks with Russia's war in Ukraine, sending food and energy costs soaring. So we're going to see a potentially another increase in mortgage rates next week. A lot of you out there have an interest in the, for one reason or another, the Sophie Toscan de Plantier murder. The Irish Daily Mirror tells us that cold case Gardaí probing the murder of Sophie Toscan de Plantier yesterday confirmed they've already talked to new witnesses in the UK and France. Perhaps, given recent revelations in documentaries, people might be able to guess whom. Gardaí added they will travel to both countries in the coming weeks to mine more information from these resources, as they remain hopeful answers can be found even 26 years later. However, while sources in the UK and France could provide the key to unlocking the case, Gardaí are also renewing their appeal for any and all information available from witnesses closer to home. And they called a press conference yesterday to that end, calling for anyone out there with more information to come forward. All right, let's go finally to the Irish Daily Star today. And they have a list of the most watched festive movies, most watched Christmas movies. So the most rewatched Christmas movies of all time, I don't think the top 5 anyway. Maybe let's go to the top 6 are going to be too surprising. Home Alone, number 1. It's cross-generational, isn't it? And I think sometimes parents whose young ones haven't seen it before, as they mature, want them to enjoy that. And it seems to have stood the test of time. The Snowman, never seen that. Love Actually. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York's number 4. Elf is number 5. Again, that's another cross-generational show. And Die Hard. And obviously every time Die Hard's mentioned, the big question mark is whether or not it is a Christmas film. So that's the list there. 086 60 25,000. Your WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Before I go to the break, I want to give you, because it is such a lovely competition, I want to give you a run through of what's on offer for you today. The show is brought to you this week in association with our friends at McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. They are giving us a hamper worth over €500 to be won. We'll have 5 daily qualifiers in the draw, and then that draw will take place on Friday. So the overall prize is a Lancome Christmas hamper, a blank canvas tools to match your talent 20-piece brush set, a Be Perfect Iconic Essentials set, a bottle of Chanel Bleu de Chanel for men, a bottle of Victor and Ralph Flower Bomb EDP spray, and a 20 by 16 inch gallery wrapped canvas from McGee's, so you can have your favourite photo wrapped in canvas ready to hang. And I got one of these in McGee's last year, actually, and they are lovely. They really are. So we have a question for you, and it's obviously you enter on the regular number 086 60 25,000, text to WhatsApp, and the question is as simple as can be. What day of the week does Christmas Day fall this year? What day of the week does Christmas Day fall this year? Send your answer, your name and where you're from to 086 60 25,000. And don't forget, McGee's have all the top names in ladies and men's fragrances. The daily prize today, I don't have it in front of me. I'll grab that for you, but I know it's a beautiful bottle of, I believe, aftershave for men. Is it on the quiz question? Is it? Do you want to come in and point to it? If you can come in and point to it, I'll give you €10. We'll take a break and we'll let you know what the daily price is, but I know it's a cracker. And it's free to enter, of course. Text 086 60 25,000, WhatsApp or text. And also later we'll be playing Say What as well, so stay tuned for that.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
The 9 till noon show, sponsored by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with a great range of digital cameras, camcorders and binoculars for Christmas. McGee's, the photographic experts, where the best costs less.
Highland Radio are on the road in 2023. Join us for our trip to Dublin on Thursday the 23rd of February to see the 25th anniversary show of Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance. This show has amazed audiences across the globe with its fusion of high energy, Irish dancing, original music and storytelling. Sit back and relax as we take care of everything.
Your trip includes luxury transfers to and from Dublin, staying at the 4-star Clayton Hotel in Dublin, including breakfast and your ticket to the show. Call us today on 074 91 25,000 for more information.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
At Vodafone this Christmas, we're giving away loads of amazing prizes with Shake to Win on the My Vodafone app. You can win cash prizes, smartphones, vouchers for taxis and clothes shops, free return European flights and more. So if you're a Vodafone customer, all you have to do is shake to win. Woohoo! Get on the My Vodafone app and get shaking. Vodafone. Together we can.
Eligible Vodafone customers only. See vodafone.ie/terms.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
The award-winning Warehouse Bar and Kitchen, Main Street, Letterkenny, has your Christmas all wrapped up. There's no better place to celebrate this Christmas with festive cocktails, bottomless brunch, Christmas food, drinks and much more. Letterkenny's best lit bar is your party destination this festive season, with great live music and DJs throughout December. Book your table now at Warehouse Bar and Kitchen.
The fine for not wearing your seatbelt has doubled, from €60 to... How did you know? This is exactly what I wanted. Don't get fined €120. There are better things to spend your money on. For a full list of updated fines, visit rsa.ie. Every time, every trip, everybody, belt up. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
For all your home heating needs, oil, gas and solid fuels. National Fuels, Pierce Road, Letterkenny. 9137400. National Fuels, bringing you the time at...
All right, the time is 21 minutes past 9, and I'm delighted to report I owe Caroline a tenner because in black and white, right in front of me when I said it wasn't there, is today's prize from McGee's Chemist. And today's prize is a bottle of Christian Dior Savage EDT. That's Eau de Toilette, I'm told. It's the spray for men. And just enter the competition. Tell us, what day of the week does Christmas fall on this year? The answer is, I nearly said the answer. Text the answer, your name and where you're from to 08660 25,000. 08660 25,000. Right. Let's get to some of your comments just as we wait for our next guest to join us. So Ukraine can get up homes for people who need them in the midst of a war with Russia, and here in Ireland and Donegal in particular, we have had years of people desperate for help following the devastating effect of defective concrete. Some people feel that. Hi, Greg, looking for advice, help. I need to get the Mean Glass Road gritted. Have a 90-year-old grand uncle living up that road on his own, and it's not treated. They've left grit along the road, but no one to scatter it. It's left that no caregivers could reach him all weekend. Who should we contact? It's the same every time we get cold weather. It needs the lorry up to grit it. It's a busy road that you can access Castledurger onto the road for the gap. They have the designated and the set gritting route. I think maybe your best hope is that someone might hear this appeal and maybe living in the area and might be able to take out a tractor with a link box or something and grit that road locally. But we can't have a situation where your 90-year-old grand uncle is up isolated there either. It's the Mean Glass Road. So we'll make representations and see if it just could be quite difficult to get some success on that one, but we shall see. Right, okay. Hi, I was listening to your article about gritting roads. The council used to grit the Round Road as far as the speed limit. Since the new road at the new housing estate Creevemore opened, they turn up there instead. Why is this, they ask. And other people do nothing but cry about the roads not being gritted enough. I'm a driver just like everyone else, but I do understand that the council can't be out 24/7. People need to start driving to the conditions that surround them. And I understand that, and I see where you're coming from. But again, we just have to consider that not everyone is in the same position as you are. We have housing estates and roads where people literally cannot get the car out of. That's mostly what we're talking of here. We have roads that accommodate school buses that locals think are very unsafe for their children. You know, they have to have a space to be able to say that this is an important road that needs some attention. But I respect what you're saying, but I also respect that, you know, other people's situation would be more difficult than mine, for example. Right, just listening regarding the council gritting the roads. Yeah, they've done an absolutely brilliant job, but as someone who had an elderly mother, I'm terrified she's going to fall on the pavement and injure herself. Could they not invest in one of those little mini tractors that can grip pavements? Would at least create a job or two and make the town a bit safer for older people. That town being Letterkenny, but there's towns and villages right across Donegal, you know, Dunlow, Donegal Town, Killybegs, Ballabafay, Stranooler, Buncrana, you know, Muff, that you could make an argument that all of those footpaths need gritting, but in reality it's just not physically going to be possible. There is a thing in some countries, Germany particularly, where you are responsible for cleaning the footpath or salting or gritting the footpath in front of your property. Maybe if that was done, that would alleviate some of the issues. Right, okay, we are joined on the programme now by the editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune newspaper. It is Tuesday, so the elves are working flat out, getting Wednesday night, Thursday's edition ready, I'm sure. So John McAteer's given a break for a second to have a chat with us. Good morning, John. Majin Way.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good, John. Right, we're going to talk a bit about the Cabinet reshuffle. This is the last Cabinet meeting. Is it about moving the deck chairs around atop the Titanic, or is there some significance to this process, do you think?
Well, I suppose that's the deal of the programme for government, that halfway through it we would have a changeover of Taoiseach and Taoiseach, and that's basically what's happening. Leo Varadkar taking over where he left off prior to the last general election. The role of Taoiseach goes to Micheál Martin, potentially Foreign Affairs. After that, Michael McGrath and Pascal Donoghue just change roles, and it's possible that Simon Coveney will fit then into the office vacated by Michael Martin, and beyond that, maybe Jack Chambers could be promoted. Hard to see that much is going to happen. Charlie McConlow doesn't look like that because there's a lot of things coming up in farming. He has been piloting the whole area of the cap reform, the global emissions cuts to 25% cut, which could see huge consequences coming down the road for all farmers. Who would want that job? If there was to be any change there, it would be between him and Heather Humphreys. He would slot into community and rural affairs. Heather Humphreys would slot into agriculture, but that would be just moving the chairs around a little bit.
And would they be reluctant to do that, given the fact that obviously there was some problems in filling that role in the first place? And I presume from a government perspective, and maybe many farmers, I don't know, McConlough probably is seen to have done quite well in that role, given the mandate that he would have. I mean, obviously there are people listening here that are going to be throwing rotten fruit at the radio for me saying that, but I'm viewing it from trying to view it from all perspectives.
Outside of health, carbon cuts in farming, which farming accounts for 37% of them, and it would seem right now that they were going to be nowhere near achieving the 25% cuts that they envisaged last July. There's really nothing much happening in the way of new technologies going forward. He has piloted the new cap deal to come to fruition on the 1st of January. He probably has done very well on that. What impact the cost of living and inflation will have on that is pretty hard to understand just now, but it's going to be very significant. But the biggest challenge that he's going to face is that it is possible that the suckler herd will see very substantial cuts, and that the dairy herd, which is much more substantial, could see an increase between now and 2030. If that is to happen, all hell is going to break loose, because the potential of 200,000 suckler cattle being culled is not going to sit very comfortable with farmers in rural Ireland, particularly on the Western Seaboard where they all reside.
Not to mention too, John, that, this targets that we've got set for 2030 are a nonsense at this stage. I don't think the government can really decide whether they want 1 million electric cars on the road by 2030 or they want just less cars on the road by 2030. I don't think there's any consensus in that regard, and I don't think there's any plan. You can't, there's really no great movement even on something as simple as charging. And then in other areas, of course, we're prolonging the use of the burning of coal and what have you. They can't even get a turf ban really over the line. So once again, all focus to be seen to be doing anything has to go on the farming community. And if I were a farmer, I'd be calling that out for what it is. You can't do anything else, but the handy, successfully seemingly in terms of reaching these targets, but the handy thing is to go after farmers, because as soon as you mention farmers, you get large swathes of the population that will roll in behind you because they're anti-farmer like they can be anti-teacher at times.
Well, you have the issue of the three Green Party ministers. They're not going to be moving anywhere. Eamon Ryan is going to stay exactly where he is. And does this government need a huge reshuffle to add some sort of dynamic to the global warming issue? I think they do, because we're not really making any progress. You just referenced there electric cars, but on the more basic level, charging points, they're not there. They're simply not going to be there. I mean, did you see any plan at all of new charging points going in Donegal, even in Letterkenny there? I won't be changing my car in a couple of years, but I'll be thinking very seriously about what exactly I should be doing insofar as charging points are concerned, because my nearest charging points are 25 miles away, and I'm not going to be running into Letterkenny a couple of days a week to charge.
No,
and spend time.
And if they were serious about that, they would make it free to get a fast charger at your home or something. Because even if you put 3 chargers in Letterkenny, if there's 400 electric cars in Letterkenny, you know what's happening, and what we see in urban areas really is a lot of people are plugging the car into charge and then leaving it because it's free parking. Like that, they haven't figured that out yet. So again, that's all so complicated. They can't really decide on how many cars they want on the road by 2030. So obviously then the attention goes to the farmers again.
I think they've moved the goalposts already on the 1 million cars by 2030. I think that's now down to 900,000. It's going to fall further behind than that, because you see, we're good at making plans and promoting policy and all that kind of thing, but enforcement of it. The farming issue is going to be a very, very hot potato in years ahead because it's a massive industry. We're building a massive cheese plant that down in County Kilkenny that's going to be producing over 50,000 tonnes of cheese per year. That's 1,000 tonnes a week. It's going to take 4,500 farms with substantial livestock. So, that's going against the grain of what we're trying to do here. But the government itself is probably they're in still water. They're not moving too far. It's been a difficult time for the government with COVID, first of all, and now with the increases in the cost of living. But carbon, the whole carbon conversation literally has fallen by the wayside.
See, I almost find it difficult to entertain that conversation, not with you, but generally, as if we can have that conversation seriously when we still are in a position that when it's cold and the wind doesn't blow, we're banjaxed. We're piping in power from Britain. Do you know, and how long is it, John? You might remember the conversation about the location of say, for instance, nuclear generation on the island of Ireland. Remember that was a big conversation going back. Was it 98 or something like that? Maybe it's 2008. No. But anyway, do you know...
The first conversation about... it was down Cairns in Wexford. It was in the 1960s, probably. It would stretch my memory.
I would say, yeah.
I mean, the whole country was down there protesting, and Christy Moore started a singing career down there, literally. That's a long, long time ago. We're going to be importing nuclear fuel from France anyway. We'll never build a nuclear power station. We can't build a children's hospital. I mean, the reality is that a nuclear power station could take 25 years at least.
We can't even build tanks to store gas.
Precisely. And we can't guarantee that we're going to have electricity, but we're getting a good bit away from the cabinet.
Anyway, listen, I want to ask you, go back to that. Sorry, John. I think one of the other ministries that people in this county would have a strong eye on would be the Minister for Housing. Dara O'Brien's portfolio. People might be interested to see what might happen there. Is he a safe bet to stay in situ?
Well, Michael Martin has every confidence in him, 150%. Leo Varadkar has every confidence in him, 150%. The only people who haven't any confidence in him is those who are waiting for houses and will be waiting for years to come and can't get them because the government has set up a very low bar of 28,000 or 24,000 or whatever it is, when in fact we need 50,000 houses every year for the next 10 years because this country is growing exponentially and it's growing at a very, very big, fast rate. And when you see nurses and teachers emigrating because they can't get a house and they can't afford a rent, then there's something fundamentally wrong in the whole management of the economy. None of that's going to play into any of this here this weekend. There's going to be just this ritual, going to the president to get the seals of office changed over, and next week we'll go back to normal and ask, what was that about? Nothing really happened. Did it make any difference to us? Is there any dynamic new policy ideas? Is there any changes here at all? This government just is there. It might be a cruel thing to say, but they exist to survive to the next election because they're all scared stiff of Sinn Féin, whatever that's about. I'm not quite certain. Sinn Féin is running strongly in the opinion polls. Opinion polls on election day probably don't count for an awful lot, but there's an obsession there with Sinn Féin. And there's an obsession there. And Sinn Féin hasn't come out clearly and clarified their position insofar as emissions and carbon cuts of 25% in farming are concerned. I mean, the reality is that a 30% emission was sought as being a very minimum. Now, at 25%, we may be very little over 20%. So in a couple of years' time down the road, we'll have fallen so far behind that we're probably going to have to revisit that again and reduce the targets.
Yeah, do you know what I find fascinating about the situation is that, you know, the government has been in power and it would have watched Sinn Féin's increase in the polls, you know, going up steady. They would see that even despite some of the press being clearly anti-Sinn Féin, that still the popularity continues to rise. That other than sort of almost like underhand digs, some would see it as underhand digs, others would see it as that especially with all the advisors they have, that they haven't been able to come together with a strategy to undo Sinn Féin. Do you know what I mean? Like to It seems they have not even strategized as to how they could boost their popularity. But if they can't do that, to at least maybe put dents in the popularity of Sinn Féin. They don't seem to target them on, on policy like what you've just said is it's a really interesting point, and I think it'd be a really interesting debate on a radio station. But the government doesn't seem to do that. They don't seem to go after Sinn Féin on policy to try and undo their popularity.
They're unable to do that because, every time that the government attacks Sinn Féin, which is about once a day as far as some of the national papers are concerned, Sinn Féin is sitting very solid. If you read the Red C polls, they're in excess of 30%, say 32, 33%. Some of the polls have them at 34 and 35. Owen O'Brien is very, very strong. The government almost holds up a match to see which way Owen O'Brien will blow it before they come out with a policy. And any policies they come out with don't seem to work to any cohesive extent. Darragh O'Brien was complaining yesterday and the day before about land banks being tied up. This is a very old story going back 20 years ago. Remember, this government itself, in one format or another, is in power since 2011. And that's a long, long time not to have moving forward to a huge extent. This last couple of months has all been about Michael Martin's legacy issues. Simon Donnelly last week was the major 5 new hubs for elective surgery. New contracts with the doctors, and the ink wasn't dry on it when they seemed to be going to turn it down because it's not going to be workable for them. And, it's this kind of stuff that's coming out all the time. Sinn Féin is having a field day on that, between Pierce Doherty and Mary Lou and Owen O'Brien and a few people like that. I'll not mention Rose Conway Walsh for all obvious reasons in the west of Ireland, but Sinn Féin has very strong spokespersons. They're also doing very detailed research on where the government failures are. But as long as you're sitting with under 30,000 houses built every year, you're going to be in big bother because the whole policy is on health, the whole policy is on housing, and we're not making much progress at all.
Let's say, for instance, the part of the problem in terms of inflation. Part of the problem with inflation is, of course, the Ukrainian situation is part of it, but part of it also was government's response to COVID, the protecting jobs, investing money, giving money away, and that led to inflation, which has led to inflation in building products. Like Sinn Féin, in fact, there was at times that Sinn Féin believed the government weren't going far enough in terms of supporting people and some of the lockdown measures. Is that not the kind of conversation, if the government wants to chip away at Sinn Féin, they should be trying to have? Do you know what I mean? Like, you see it at leaders' questions in Britain, for example, but you just don't see it here. Now, I don't want anyone to say I'm pro this or pro that. Or you can say it, but I'm not. I'm just trying to articulate how you would go about trying to assert yourself over someone else.
You have to build more houses. You have to cut the waiting lists in hospitals. You have to provide more consultants. There's thousands of them missing. You have to make an attractive proposition to them. You've got to get them to buy into it. And Leo Varadkar's nonsense about the grass being greener on the other side, and that probably when you get there it's not like that. Nobody's buying into that rubbish. But if that's the type of policy that you're trying to sort of influence consultants to come to work in your hospitals, nobody knows better what conditions are like in Irish hospitals than the consultants, because they've probably worked there as interns and as junior doctors and on training. And it's a place to get out of it as soon as they can, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, John, go ahead.
I'm getting a huge noise in my ear here.
All right, okay. Well, listen, come here. That is where we were going to leave it in any case, John. Thank you so much, as always, for your input. It's greatly appreciated, because we do have to move forward, and we'll chat to you really, really soon. Thank you very much indeed. John McAteer, there, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune newspaper, who began getting a bit of feedback on the line, but of course, the professional he is, he battered on nonetheless. I always like listening to John on the radio. He's always on the ball, indeed. What about the new planning bill before the Dáil today? It affects rural Ireland too, as the government don't want opposition to wind turbines, not even on peat bogs. The bill allows for compulsory purchase of land and houses. I'd be interested to see the small print to see if it's extended to what they might see as sort of infrastructural development. But I wouldn't doubt maybe you're correct. Greg, can you remind people to leave out some food for birds? They're struggling for food at the moment. Of course, just done it. And let's take a break before we get our next guest on the show.
The 9 till noon show, sponsored by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. See all the magic of Christmas with McGee's online photo lab, open 24/7, delivered to your door or collect in store.
That magical time of year once more, with mince pies and pudding and treats galore, taking pride of place by the twinkling tree. All you need to know about the season's TV. A world of entertainment wrapped up inside. Christmas begins with the RTE Guide.
At Joe McGee Butchers, we have all your needs to make this Christmas dinner extra special. So, if it's a fresh whole turkey, a turkey breast fillet in a vac-pack cooking bag with a cooking pop-up timer, a ham joint or a succulent dry-aged sirloin steak, then call in to Joe McGee Butchers at Glencar Shopping Centre and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, where we have Christmas all wrapped up for you.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you at least support the dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're gonna have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? At Local Insurance, we understand your needs. Call today for a bespoke quote or find us online at localinsurance.ie. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
This Saturday night at Ribble's Restaurant, Kerrykill, enjoy a comedy night with Patsy O'Hagan, plus live music and a 4-course dinner, all for just €37.50 per person. Bookings on 9150110. Ribble's Restaurant, Kerrykill, where food matters.
Claire Clothing on Main Street, Letterkenny has 20% discount off all clothes. We can help you with your Christmas gifting. We have cosy sweaters, handbags, jewellery and gift vouchers with 20% discount off. Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny, beside the Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio is seeking applications for a presenter-producer to join our busy sports team. The ideal candidate must have an interest in sport across the Northwest, and a strong knowledge of multimedia platforms is essential. The chosen applicant will be trained to present our main sports programmes and bulletins, plus produce both on-air and online content. For more details, see the job section on our website highlandradio.com.
Okay, so obviously we all hope that we're looking forward to Christmas, and it's a time for, seeing people that you haven't seen for a while if they've come home and able to come home now, of course, visiting family and friends, and, it all sounds really, really positive. But I think for an awful lot of people out there, and perhaps more than we might realise, particularly those who are in a more positive situation, it's a very difficult time for some. Carl Malvin is a psychotherapist and family estrangement specialist. Good morning to you, Carl.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. So, as I say, I think, leading up to Christmas for many different reasons, maybe feeling they have to meet with family and what have you, or in-laws or whatever it might be, that it can be quite an anxious time, and that anxiety is probably building right now.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the relationship and how the relationship has been for weeks and months and possibly even years. And even just for a second, I might establish what family estrangement is, because that's technically what we're talking about here, where there's rifts that exist in families and they're communicating, but they're not getting on, or on the other extreme, they're not communicating at all. And the problem with estrangement is that there isn't a clear definition. If anyone took the time to look at the research, there's about 7 or 8 different definitions. But from my perspective, working with adults who are estranged, estrangement is effectively a process where one or more family members are consciously creating distance from family members. And that distance sits on a spectrum. So you have some people who we say are less estranged, and they could interact on a regular basis. They could see each other, maybe at family events. Maybe there's traditions within families that they spend time around each other. Maybe there's obligation, there's loyalty. There could be family issues, which meant that family members, they need to spend time around each other, but they maybe would rather not. And in those exchanges, they can be quite tense, quite stressful. And people often hold back. They're not sharing aspects of their personal life. And that's what the estrangement is. They're putting distance between them, but it's a communicative distance. The other end of the spectrum are people who we say are more estranged. And these are extremes where there's no face-to-face contact. They're trying to put as much geographical distance from them and their family as possible. And some of my clients, they've literally spent their lives traveling the world to get as much distance from their family as possible. In fact, I've heard very extreme examples of people changing their name to again put as much distance from their family. So that's an extreme version of estrangement. Now you factor in Christmas, which really there's no other time in the year that's more synonymous with family than Christmas, maybe with the exception of Thanksgiving in America. And there's all these pressures and expectations to spend time with family. And again, if your family situation is a relatively healthy one, a relatively functional one, this could be a great time. But for others, it's a very stressful time for a whole range of reasons.
And presumably, too, people this pops up too at the times of weddings or funerals as well.
Yeah, exactly. Any event that requires family to spend time around each other. Weddings is a particularly tough one because you could be surrounded by family members who you're not estranged from, who might not even be aware of what's happening between the client and whoever they're estranged from. So it becomes this kind of complex social landscape as regards who knows, who doesn't know. Is anything going to be said? Are they going to be forced to, pose in a picture with someone that they don't really have a relationship with? But Christmas is a tough one because again, you're just surrounded by imagery and videos and images of families spending happy time together and people buying gifts, and that simply might not be an option for us all.
But is it the case though that it is an option for us all if we frame things in a different way? That and maybe you can give us some advice in that we feel this obligation, that we feel and that you dread Christmas, you want Christmas to be over because of maybe negativity or having to find yourself being around people that you have a toxic relationship with or what have you. Like you have to look after yourself, don't you? I mean, what should we be doing if you know that they're going to kick off, or something's going to be said, or they're going to have a go at your children, or something's going to happen, and you go, you know what, I don't want to do that again this Christmas. I want to start a new tradition where I look forward to Christmas and I'm happy. Is it okay to do that, and how do you do that?
Well, look, it's a very personal decision, and I might say it's okay, but the person feeling it may not internalize what I'm saying to them. But you're right, they have to self-care on a different level around this time of year. They got to look after themselves. Support is such a critical element to all of this. Not just Christmas, all year round. People who don't have that attachment with their family, they need an attachment somewhere where people who see them for who they are and value them for who they are. If there's an event or a situation where they're going to have to spend time around their family, ideally they put as many buffers in place as possible. That buffer would ideally be a partner. It'd be a husband or a wife or a boyfriend or girlfriend who's actually, again, aware of the situation, aware of these very difficult family dynamics, and is able to act as kind of a grounding presence. But also, they act as this kind of social police, because you find that a stranger is brought into the family situation and people are on edge. They don't drop their guard as quickly. The guards come up, so they kind of have to monitor their own behavior. But even again, you're going to visit, maybe that's something that you have to do. Having plans after the visit is a really big part of it as well. And what I try and get my clients to do is you're having these really bulletproof plans that they can't cancel, that they can't kind of, because let's say you go and you visit family and it's stressful and it's fine. But even if it's fine, then people become quite unhappy and quite sad that this is the way it's come. This is the way the situation has worked out. But if they've got some plans with friends and they can't back out, at least there's a sense of connection with other people. But they also have a really solid exit strategy. If things get a bit hairy and things could be quite civil at the beginning of a meeting up with family, and then all of a sudden it just all these old patterns of conflict and old resentments start to come up, having a solid exit strategy is necessary.
So that's a short time frame. Two, though, if you are going to have to make the visit, there's going to be triggers that's going to cause a row. You will get someone will chuck a grenade, and then you might feel like chucking one back, and you know exactly where that's going to end up. So in terms of the conversation, as much as you can avoid going near those obvious trigger points, that I think if people are living through this on a long-term basis, they know what's going to kick things off.
Yeah. Well, this is why you need to walk in with your own agenda. You need to be really clear about why you're there, how long you're going to spend there, and what you're going to discuss and not discuss. And the term conversational ambush is one I use with my clients. And I get it has this kind of military vibe off it. But this is unfortunately the antagonistic nature of some of these families that my clients have to deal with, where a very simple question around how are you doing, how's work, could lead down a very dark path into something much more personal, trying to gather information, trying to antagonize somebody, trying to lead it down into a mistake that they may have made in the past, an old resentment, and then all these old dynamics just reappear quite quickly. And all the but again, the bond of family is so tight and so emotional that people can be quite easily drawn into these conversations, and they could walk and say, "There's no way I'm going to discuss this." And then all of a sudden, they find themselves in that defensive stance where they have to defend themselves, or they might even be fawning. So they might find that they're so stressed and under pressure that they become overly nice and overly agreeable and start to share things they mightn't want to share.
Right, so if you let it wash over you or try and change the subject or not take the bait, then you shouldn't see that as a sign of weakness, then leave thinking, oh, she or he got one over on me there. You know, do you have to sort of try and frame that as you're the one leaving with guilt-free, you didn't take the bait, and now it's on to meet those friends that you talked of? Is that the way we have to try and mentally frame it for ourselves? Or it's obviously not everyone can do that, but ideally, Carl.
Yeah, I appreciate your point, and you're right. Like, you don't want to walk out of there feeling worse off than you did walking in. But unfortunately, the nature of that relation dictates that you don't walk out necessarily feeling good about yourself. I mean, look, this is a very tragic thing, okay? And I'm not necessarily a fan of trying to find the positive in everything. The reframer probably is necessary but not necessarily a case of, you know, I got the last word in and I set my agenda. It's more about the reality, the bigger picture of the whole relationship, and how tragic that it came to this. And I had no choice but to leave because they just wanted this. They weren't prepared to look at themselves, their own contribution to the problems. It's unfortunate that they're not prepared to really, they don't want a better relationship than the older relationship. So to me, it's not an ego thing where I need to pick, you know, say, oh, I won that fight, and because nothing is gained from that.
Yeah.
But if you can look at the bigger picture and embrace the tragic reality that they don't have the family that they wish they had, that it creates an opportunity. You can start to grieve the situation, maybe not necessarily personalize it, but at least acknowledge that it's very painful for them. It is very unfortunate. It doesn't affect everybody, but it does affect a large number of people. And unfortunately, these people listening who connect to what we're saying, they're those unfortunate few, because you don't pick your family. You're not born.
But you feel obliged, though, to be close to them. You feel obliged to have
the bond.
that. So we'll talk a wee bit more about Christmas, but in terms of outside of the funerals, the weddings, the Christmas, right? Can family estrangement be rehabilitated in your experience? Like, can you call a summit, middle March? Well, that's near St. Patrick's Day. Let's say mid-April. Okay, mid-April. Like, does that work? Where you sort of take away all that, what you're dressed like, and the one-upmanship, and how well you're doing, and all that kind of stuff, and just sit down and thrash it out, or find some common ground that you can both agree on around Christmas times? Does that work, Carl?
It can do. So reconciliations do happen. Okay. And I mean, there is some research that suggests that at least 40 to 50% of families who become estranged can reconcile, but they're very complicated. Okay. Now, in an ideal world, you just sit down, you bash out your differences, and things might get a bit better. Realistically, it's a long-term process of spending time around each other and working on issues, but then also parking issues and drawing a line. Like, we've spoke about this enough, we need to move forward. What makes it difficult is that all parties have to be in agreement that they want to have a better relationship. And unfortunately, with my clients, that isn't always the case.
Yeah.
In fact, the majority of my clients either feel like they can't reconcile or they don't want to reconcile. Now, don't get me wrong, many have. And I've been surprised sometimes in cases where they have reconciled. And in the situations where they did, what was clear to me was that something changed. Okay, something changed on their side, or something changed on their estranged family side. And it could have been a change of circumstance, a change of maybe they've transitioned in age and they're reflecting on the life.
Could be a diagnosis, could be a death, could be anything like that, presumably.
But it caused a reevaluation of the relationship completely, a reevaluation of priorities, and people decide, some of the petty issues, they're not that important anymore. But issues that were quite big, people realized that, okay, I've behaved very badly, I've hurt people. Maybe it's time for me to step up and take responsibility for what I've done. But the problem is that, again, you're dealing with people who are very hurt, very vulnerable, and they're not prepared to embrace that process all the time. They feel better. They'd rather maintain the status quo, keep the distance, blame everybody else, not look at themselves. But the long-term implications of that, I mean, there's a strong intergenerational nature with estrangement. It rarely happens in isolation within one family. If you go back far enough, you'll see other patterns there as well. And with my own clients and a lot of people within the estrangement community, we're thinking forward. What can we do to reduce it going forward? But going back, we would love to see change. It just isn't always possible. And I'm not saying we give up. And I spent a lot of time with my own clients helping them draft letters to estranged family members. They call it an amends letter, to see, is there a way of finding the right language, the right terminology to really relay exactly what they want to say. It's not my letter, it's their letter. And sometimes they're successful. Sometimes the letter is read in the manner in which it was sent, but often it's completely misinterpreted and sometimes even weaponized, which is another tragic aspect of it, where things that were shared, hoping that it would bridge that narrative, each person's side of it, unfortunately it's thrown back at people as well.
All right. Listen, there's some great tips in there too as well, Carl, but I think also it talks to the very complex nature of the whole situation. Carl Melvin's a psychotherapist and family estrangement specialist. If you want Carl's details, we'll pass them on. Carl, thanks for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. Take care of yourself and have a happy Christmas.
You too.
All right, take care. All right, thank you very much indeed. All right. Hopefully that, I'm sure it will resonate to some people out there, but maybe it was constructive for some.
The 9 till noon show, sponsored by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with all your perfume and aftershave presents this Christmas. McGee's, delivered to your door, or you can collect in store.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Hake and Dublin Bay prawn chowder, grilled trout with pak choy. This Christmas, add a fresh idea to any table with Irish seafood, like organic smoked salmon or fresh Irish oysters. For starters or for mains, weekday dishes or weekend treat. Irish seafood is available in your local fishmonger or supermarket. It's easy to prepare and it adds variety to your festive meals. Enjoy the best that our fishermen bring ashore. And for great Irish seafood recipes, visit boardbia.ie/fish.
Everyone loves going to the cinema. That's why an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher is the perfect Christmas present. They aren't just for kids, but all the family. Even little Miss Hard to buy for. We all have one of them. And when you buy an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher, you now get 10% extra free. Available on our Bundoran and Lefferts Strabane cinemas or at eclipsecinemas.com. Vouchers don't expire and can even be used for dine-in screen options and VIP cinema experiences.
Auctioneers, estate agents, letting agents and property management agents operating in the Republic of Ireland must hold a Property Services Regulatory Authority PSRA licence. An auctioneer may auction land, fine arts, antiques or animals at a mart. When engaging an agent, don't assume your agent is licensed. Check the PSRA register of licensed agents at psr.ie. Unlicensed agents are breaking the law. Report unlicensed operators to info@psr.ie. Remember, no PSRA licence, no PSRA consumer protection.
Nutria's winter feed offers now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags, get one free when purchasing Nutria's Pre-Carver ATP nut or Nutria's Next Gen Heifer ATP. €10 off per tonne. Also available on bulk orders. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrias.ie for full product details.
Whatever the weather, Christmas shopping in Letterkenny will brighten your December. The Highland Weather Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
All right, so very cold this morning with lingering patches of freezing fog slowly clearing. Frost and ice will persist through much of the day, staying dry for most with winter sunshine, though there is the chance of an isolated wintry shower. Temperatures today, -1 to +2 degrees. Okay, back with more after the news and obituary notices.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock.
Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Provisional fish quota discussions have ended in Brussels, with Marine Minister Charlie McConalogue welcoming what he says are a number of key decisions on quotas which will benefit the Irish fleet. However, the quotas agreed this morning after marathon overnight talks are only in place for the first 3 months of 2023, as the EU-UK agreement on fish is not yet finalised. Minister McConalogue said he stressed the importance of a deal for Ireland to his colleagues and also highlighted the importance of ongoing discussions with Norway. In the interim, he says good work has been done over the past 2 days.
From Donegal, a significant development we will bring through is the reopening of the spur dog fishery. It will be really important for our inshore sector, and there's some of our smaller peers in harbours in particular, such as Orris, Gungad, Malin Burton Port, Arranmore, Downings, for example. This fishery has been closed since 2009, and the reopening of that will be significant for those. Also then, there's good positive advice in relation to potential increases as well, such as for prawns, Celtic sea monkfish, hake and megrim, and also northwest haddock and whiting.
Progress on the processing of the defective concrete blocks grant scheme applications has been welcomed. However, the chair of Donegal County Council's Strategic Policy Committee on Housing says it must continue at a faster pace. To date, 1,076 Stage 1 applications have been received, with 436 approved, 639 still being assessed. 118 Stage 2 grant approval applications have been submitted. 73 have been approved, with 42 awaiting further information. Councillor Johnny McGuinness says more resources are required to ensure applications can be processed more quickly.
Of the second stage applications, almost 62% of those received have been processed. That's good. Obviously, the stage 1 then as well, it's actually 43%, you could say, of what's approved and what's been received. I think the council needs to have more capacity in their admin to deal with these applications in a more efficient manner. Anywhere where time can be saved, it should be. If we can get a proper staff on site to administer this as fast as possible, it'll move those applications on.
Councillor Michael McBride has been elected chair of the Donegal ETB. He takes over the role from Councillor Barry Sweeney. Patsy McVicker is the new deputy chair. Councillor McBride says it's been a challenging number of years for schools in the county. He says while challenges still exist in the sector, the development of a number of schools in the county in the future is to be welcomed.
In the last year, so many schools have taken in Ukrainian students, and that has been a massive challenge for the executive of the ETB, for the teachers themselves and for the students. I think, we look forward to the development of our schools is probably the biggest thing,
5 Donegal schools have been included in the Safe Routes to School programme. The initiative aims to create safer walking and cycling routes within communities. The Donegal schools included are Carndonagh Community School, Creasler National School, Scoil Éirua Agus Nula in Donegal Town, Scoilwira on Crosslach Letterkenny, and St Patrick's Boys School in Carndonagh. And a new project aimed at helping youths in North Donegal access employment has received a major funding boost. The Mulroy Youth Engagement Project has received funding of over €147,000 from the International Fund for Ireland to work with young people aged 16 to 25 over the course of an initial 2-year period. It's a project intended to create a better future through the development of employment skills, mentoring support, confidence building, and the provision of emotional wellbeing programmes. Declan Meehan is manager of MDRC. He says the project has great potential.
The idea is that the youth worker will meet young people where they're at, assess their needs and what they want to get into, what their interests are, and come up with a tailored pathway for them to get back into education and or employment.
For the forecast, it'll be very cold this morning with lingering patches of freezing fog slowly clearing, frost and ice persisting through much of the day, staying dry for most with winter sunshine, a chance of some isolated wintry showers in daytime temperatures of -1 to +2 degrees Celsius, a light to moderate northeasterly breeze. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Good morning.
The obituary notice is for this Tuesday morning, December the 13th. The death has occurred of Annie Grant, Kinnigo, Ballymaggan, Buncrana. Annie's remains will be reposing at her late residence from 4 o'clock this afternoon. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for 11 o'clock requiem mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral. Annie's requiem mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Robert McNair, Vey, Manor Cunningham. His remains will repose at the home of his nephew, Alistair McNair, Killyberry, Newton Cunningham, from 3 o'clock this afternoon. Funeral service there tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, followed by burial in the family plot in Rye Presbyterian Graveyard. The house is private, and on the morning of the funeral, family and friends welcome. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Medical 4, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. The death has occurred of Marina McGarvey, Glenleary, Ramelton, Donegal, reposing at the residence of her father and mother at Glenleary, Ramelton tonight and tomorrow. Funeral from there at 11 o'clock on Thursday morning for interment in Church Street Cemetery, Ramelton. Donations in lieu of flowers to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or McElwee Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Phyllis Monegal, née Gallagher, Priesttown, Carndonagh, County Donegal. Phyllis will be reposing at her home from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 11:15, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family only from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. Funeral can be viewed online iTech Media. The death has taken place of Patrick Bradley, 7 College Row, Glencar, Letterkenny, formerly Creve Smith, reposing at his late residence. House private, please. Requiem Mass in St Junan's Cathedral at 12 noon tomorrow, which can be viewed online at churchservices.tv, followed by interment in the family plot in New Lake Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations if wished to Archview Lodge Nursing Home Residents Comfort Fund, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director, or any family member. The death has occurred of Mickey Carr, Glenkira, Newmills, reposing at his late residence. House strictly private to family and close friends only, please. Funeral from there tomorrow morning for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Glenswilly, with burial afterwards in Temple Douglas Cemetery. The death has taken place of Anita Peoples, née Harley, Dublin, 27 Helen Street, Derry. Funeral from her home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Eugene's Cathedral, with burial afterwards in the city cemetery. Family time, please, from 9 o'clock tonight. The death has taken place of Nuala Gallagher, Tirhillion, Termin. Nuala's remains will repose at her late home from 12 noon until 9 o'clock today, with rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow for 12 noon Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Termin, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family time, please, from 9 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations if wished to the Donegal Hospice, care of McCafferty Funerals. The death has taken place of Rosa MacDonald, Tam, Main Street, Clonmany. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there this afternoon at 12:15, going to St Michael's Church, Urris, for Requiem Mass at 1 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to St Columkill Village, care of any family member or Comsky Funeral Directors. House private, please, to family and close friends at the request of the deceased. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Angela Ivers, 9 Gaddy Duff, Clonmany. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the new cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Comsky Funeral Directors. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Madeleine Carroll, née Peoples, 5 Father McLoone Terrace, Old Town Road, Letterkenny. Funeral from her late residence today, going to St Junan's Cathedral for Requiem Mass at 12:30. Burial afterwards at the family plot in New Lake Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations if wished to Hillcrest Residents Comfort Fund, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director, or any family member. Family time this morning before the funeral, please. And the death has taken place of Margaret Lafferty, Bridge House, Culdaff. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30. For 11 o'clock, Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Bogan Culdaff, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Margaret's funeral mass can be viewed live on kildaffparish.com. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning if you're just joining us. I want to give you a reminder of our great competition running in association with our friends at McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. We have a hamper for you on Friday worth over €500. It includes a blank canvas, tools to match your talent, 20-piece brush set, a Be Perfect Iconic Essentials set, a 20 by 16 inch gallery wrapped canvas, and also you can have your favourite photo wrapped in canvas ready to hang on your wall. That and so much more besides. And don't forget, at McGee's, they've got cameras and accessories from names like Canon, Fuji and Nikon. To be in with a chance to win Friday's prize and to be in with a chance to win today's daily prize, we are asking a simple question. What day of the week does Christmas Day fall this year? Just tell us the answer to that. Text it, your name and address to 08660 25,000. WhatsApps or texts are good for that. And if you win today, you will win a bottle of Christian Dior Savage EDT. It's a spray for men. So good luck. Get entering there. What day does Christmas fall on? The answer plus your name and where you're from to 08660 25,000. And shall I give you a play of Say What? Where we are giving a ticket into the car draw as a daily prize, but the end of week prize is a wonderful €100 voucher for the Inishowen Gateway Hotel in Buncrana. All we want you to do is tell us what the missing word is. Today's teaser comes from Kevin Fury, your weekend daytime presenter here on Highland. What's the missing word?
And we will give you that all-important real soon again here in the programme.
All right, what is the missing word? Listen once again.
And we will give you that all-important real soon again here in the programme.
All right, if you want to enter that competition while you've the phone out for the McGee's one, just give us the word, your name and where you're from, again, to 08660 25,000. And we've got all those lovely prizes to give away throughout the course of this week, and even more next week, by the way. One more before we head into the bingo and the break. And don't forget, coming up very shortly, one more, listen, that is, don't come up very shortly, we'll be joined by Garda Grania for Tuesday's Community Guard information item. That's coming up after this break.
And we will give you that all-important real soon again here in the programme.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 13th of December. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 50. The numbers are 18, 65, 16, 22, 79, 40, 35, 76, 10, and finally 68. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
When it comes to food or heat, many families will face impossible choices this Christmas. Please support the St. Vincent de Paul annual appeal. Donate locally or at svp.ie. Thank you.
6 wardrobe clear-outs, 3 look changes, 1 night in a hotel lost and found, and 10 years of being your favourite. It's fair to say that cardigan has staying power. Irish design and craft isn't just made local, it's made to last. Support makers and find something you love for ages at madelocal.ie. Made local, made to last. Supported by Design and Crafts Council Ireland.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Brendan Shine and Philomena Begley at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny on January 6th and Millennium Forum Derry on March 18th. Tickets now on sale at both venues and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with Philomena Begley and Brendan Shine in Letterkenny and Derry. The perfect Christmas gift.
Merry Yuletide
Get more prices for your money this Christmas at TK Maxx. We have amazing deals on fab gifts for all your loved ones. From fancy slippers and designer candles to cuddly toys at wow prices, so you don't need to compromise on quality. I think I'm going to need a bigger sleigh. Christmas nailed for less at TK Maxx.
Louis Walsh Opticians, the longest established opticians in Letterkenny, welcome new and existing customers alike, offering the latest brands with glasses to suit all budgets and styles, private, medical card and PRSI patients. For your next eye test, contact Louis Walsh Opticians at Mount Southwell Place, Letterkenny, 91 21000.
Cén Washo Mar Heel. Irie Moch Riven Tracht, See Savan, Leven an radio, Ladron is. Umpóí cowlach na héireann dai tí vela, a roi agus chun cín, a mach an dain, tór dai an sí. Tahí sí agus skillene a mai eileveig fostóri orhu. Gus Josh Gale, tan cowlach glach dínas jach fui láhar. Take a military punk I.E. is a railat, the holy na héireann.
Great news! Show Tours have released a limited number of tickets priced at €30 for the Joe Dolan Remembering Joe Cabaret Show at the Allingham Arms Hotel, Bundoran this Friday night. The hotel is offering special accommodation rates to help take away those travel worries. Call the Allingham Arms on 071 98411075 or book online at showtours.ie.
The new VHI 360 Health Centre Carrickmines gives our healthcare members access to 5 floors of clinical expertise, including urgent care, paediatrics and state-of-the-art diagnostics, all under one roof. Visit vhi.ie. VHI Healthcare DAC, trading as VHI Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Okay, Tuesday, the 13th of December 2022. It's time for the latest Community Garda information item, where you hear the appeals from Garda Síochána first. For the most part, in studio, we're joined by Garda Grania Doherty, attached to the Letterkenny Garda station, of course. Good morning to you, Grania. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Greg.
Right, let's get straight into it. Quite a bit to get through today. And Gardaí in Ballyshannon looking for the public's assistance.
Yes, a rather serious incident, that's Greg. So they're investigating a number of incidents of dangerous driving. These were involving a red Skoda Fabia with a partial registration number of 05DL. It occurred in the Ballyshannon area on Thursday, December 8th, so the early hours of the morning between 1:45am and 1:05am. So a patrol car was rammed by this vehicle at Higginstown Cross, Ballyshannon. This happened at 1:05am and one Garda member unfortunately was injured as a result. During the course of the incident, another Garda member was forced to seek cover when this car drove at them, and this member fortunately was not injured. So we are appealing for any witnesses to this collision to come forward. Road users with dashcam footage who may have been travelling in that area around that time, the time of the collision, are asked to make it available to Gardaí in Ballyshannon. So we're interested in any sightings or dashcam footage of this vehicle. It was driven at Main Street, Ballyshannon. It may have been driven in around Donegal Town, Mount Charles or any of the surrounding areas between 12am and 1:30am on the morning of December 8th. So if anybody thinks they may have seen this car on
they
the road.
don't have to have seen the specific incidents. It's this any sighting of the red Skoda Fabia with the partial number plate 05DL would be useful.
Any sightings, or if they happen to get a good look at the driver or any other occupants of the car, that would be very useful to us also. Yeah, this car then was later located in the area of Bachelor's Walk, Ballyshannon, at lunchtime on Sunday, December 11th. So again, we appeal to anybody in that area, residents in that area particularly, who may have seen this car being driven in at that location or parked up, to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon. So anybody with any information is asked to contact Ballyshannon Gardaí on 071 985 8530 or of course, as always, the Garda confidential line on 1800 666 111, or you can call into your own local Garda station either.
Yeah, and I think there is going to be people out there with information. It's just encouraging them to come forward with it. I mean, could have been. It is serious, but it could have been so much more serious. I mean, that could have. Been it could have been very serious. So Gardaí obviously very keen to speak to those involved.
And a very traumatic and frightening event for the Garda members
100%,
involved.
100% indeed. Right, okay. Your colleagues in Ballyshannon also investigating a burglary in the Killybegs area, Grania.
Yeah, this burglary happened in the area of Conlon Road, Killybegs. It occurred between 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday the 7th and 7 a.m. the following morning, Thursday the 8th of December. So a shed to the rear of a property, it was unlocked at the time the shed. It was entered, a number of items were stolen, a bag of coal, a circular handsaw and a builder's wheelbarrow, quite an expensive type wheelbarrow I believe. So we appeal to anybody who may have seen any suspicious activity in that area between those dates to contact guards in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530.
And I suppose, as the advert says, criminals are doing their Christmas shopping around about now. So a timely reminder again, I suppose, about security measures, because even those that are most security conscious around the principal property maybe could let their guard down as it relates to shed, where a lot of people hold a lot of valuable stuff in their sheds and what have you.
Of course, and listen, we're not proportioning any blame to the injured party in this case, but we would issue some advice in relation to it. I know there was an appeal last week also. There was a power washer stolen from the rear of a property from a garden. So we would just ask the public, don't help the burglar, safely store away ladders, tools, anything that can help them, any implements that are lying around, store them away safely. Use quality locks on your garden shed, chain valuable property within the shed, tools, bikes, etc. And ensure that your shed is secure and locked at all times. Whether you're at home or not, ensure that your shed's secure and locked. Property mark and photograph valuable possessions, and this is an important one. Take note of all serial numbers. Anything that you have that's worth, a good bit of money, take note of the serial numbers. That goes for mobile phones to IMEI numbers. But any property with a serial number, note it, take a photograph of it and keep that safe somewhere. So consider defensive planting, thorny plants around the perimeter of your garden or gating, whatever, just try to make life more difficult for anybody seeking to get in. Yeah.
And I don't have a big shed and I really don't have anything of value in it, but the biggest blocker to me putting the lock on was what I saw as an inconvenience as unlocking and locking the shed, because it's often just to go in and grab a shovel. Do you know what I mean? And once I overcome that, then it's more secure.
Yeah.
Right, I consider the thorny plants. Right, okay. Now, Gardaí in Letterkenny, they're investigating the theft of diesel from a lorry.
Yeah, and actually we had a lorry-related incident last week in and around the same area, Kelly Garden, and thankfully that lorry that was stolen has been recovered since in Northern Ireland. So we would like to thank the public also if they provided any information in relation to that appeal last week. So this, theft of diesel from a lorry. This lorry was parked up there at the Greg Hughes clubhouse in Killygarden, parked between 7 p.m. on Thursday the 8th of December and 6:40 a.m. on Friday the 9th. No damage was caused to the lorry. Access to the lorry wasn't gained, but a good quantity of diesel was stolen from it. So just again, we appeal to anybody who may have noticed any activity in and around the clubhouse grounds. Locals in that area would be familiar with the people who would usually frequent the grounds, and if anybody noticed anything untoward, somebody who's not usually in and around, or any vehicles that they don't recognise, that they don't usually see in and around the clubhouse, we would like to hear from them. So guards in Letterkenny can be contacted on 9167100, and again the confidential line 1800 666 111.
And again, diesel's it's an expensive commodity now too, so if you're parking up, you have to be really extra vigilant and careful, and we all have to keep our eyes and ears peeled for information to stop whoever's doing this stuff. Right, now we are talking about criminal damage in Carndonagh.
Yeah, so on the 10th of December, this was a Saturday, in and around 11:25 p.m, Buncrana Gardaí received a report that a car was on fire at Altashane, Carndonagh. So the fire services Gardaí attended the scene, and the car in question was off the road. So nobody was present at the scene. A good search was conducted around the scene, so there was nobody there that appeared to be injured or that was in any way connected with this car. So we appeal to any road users who may have travelled in that area, who may have witnessed this incident, to contact the Gardaí in Buncrana. And again, if anybody travelled in that area who had a dash cam, we would like to hear from them, and we can filter through that then and watch it ourselves. So guards can be contacted in Buncrana on 932 0540, and this is a regular type of incident. Every year we get reports of cars on fire on roads, and and it's an awful waste of fire services. The emergency services are busy, and it could possibly hold up the likes of the fire services from a call, a house fire or something more serious.
Because people think you just turn up, you hose the car down, and that's it. But you have to establish that there was no one fled the vehicle, no one was injured and stumbled from the vehicle, and it's not just a simple case of putting the car fire out. There's much more to it than that. I mean, this takes up an awful lot of resources that whoever's responsible, it could be their granny or uncle or whoever that needs them for a proper emergency somewhere else.
Of course, and it is time consuming. It's not a matter of the fire brigade pulling up and being there 5 minutes and spraying the car, as you say, and leaving again. They're there for quite some time when they do go to calls like this. So we would ask anybody with information, incidents like these, we don't want to see these sorts of incidents happening. The emergency services are under pressure, the majority of the time. And of course, when there are serious calls, the calls are welcome to the fire services and the Gardaí and ambulance service and everybody else. But, incidents such as these that are deliberate, a car being set alight deliberately, they are a total waste of
and it has
emergency
a knock-on
services
effect.
time.
It is.
Yeah.
It has a knock-on effect on resources. There's no doubt about it. Okay, a reminder for people of the Christmas and New Year road safety appeal, and of course, the weather out there as well is also exacerbating the dangers of driving. So there's a lot of areas we need to be careful in Grania.
Yeah. So the Christmas and New Year road safety campaign, it was launched last week. So this year's campaign focuses on the dangers of driving under the influence of alcohol and the devastating loss of life and serious injuries that occur as a result. So this year we're targeting the 4 lifesaver offences, as we are many years: intoxicated driving, speeding, use of mobile phones, and seatbelt offences. So the public will see a lot of checkpoints out on the roads over Christmas: speed checks, guarded checkpoints, high visibility checkpoints out on the roads. So we're just urging all road users to be safe this Christmas and New Year period, and particularly, as you said, the weather conditions have taken a drastic turn for the worse, so we need to be very careful and cautious when out on the roads. We would advise the public also to follow the details issued by Met Éireann, Donegal County Council. I know on their site at the moment and on their Facebook page there's a link there that you can check to see which routes have been gritted, and they update on weather warnings as well. So we would ask the public keep an eye on those sites and use bulletins for the latest weather information over the coming days and weeks. So the recent weather warnings have focused on icy roads and foggy conditions. So I just want to issue some advice in relation to driving in such conditions. And I know a lot of people, maybe particularly elderly people, they're very frightened about driving on the roads in icy conditions and in foggy conditions, and others too, not only the elderly. Sometimes you're going along on the roads, no more than myself going home yesterday evening, your heart's in your mouth at certain points of the road, but so we could all take this advice on board really. It's just a reminder. Just always ensure that your car is in a roadworthy condition before setting off. This is very important. Check your tyres. Start with the tyres. The legal minimum tread depth for your tyres is 1.8 millimetres, but it's advisable once they reach 3 millimetres to start checking them from that point. That's your main contact between you and the road, and it's important that your tyres are in good condition at all times. So when driving in frost or snow, slow down. Leave extra time for your journey, and of course use major roads where possible. This isn't always possible. Of course, people live on secondary roads and they have to use secondary roads, but if it is at all possible, use routes that you're aware that are gritted. Use your dipped headlights, leave extra space between your car and the car in front, and use the highest gear possible at a reduced speed. Now, this changes when you're travelling downhill. It's advisable to use a low gear. And if you're going to slow down, tap the brake lightly, maybe just to alert the driver behind, that you're going to be coming to a stop. And in snowy, icy conditions, carefully scan the road ahead. Ensure that you're always in a position to stop safely, that you have adequate visibility, and that you are visible to others also. Check your lights. Actually, I think this was mentioned on your show, I might be mistaken, over the last couple of mornings. It's something I don't think we all do very regularly.
And stuff, yeah. Can I add another thing in there as well before we talk about the lights? Ensure that your wash bottle is full in the car. Yeah. Because, and also that you have a product through it that prevents it freezing unless it's extremely cold. Because you could be halfway from Letterkenny to Ballybuffet, you pull on it and it's exhausted. And I'll tell you, with the soot and the grit in the road, and oncoming cars and overtaking cars and everything, it can be really, really debilitating really quickly. And it's not like you can pull over and get water. Do you know what I mean? So I would add into the before you go, make sure your window washer is packed.
Yeah, and you don't always. You could be on a journey, and there may not always be access to water. You could be a good 5-6 mile from the nearest service station.
And so quickly, your windscreen becomes actually of no use.
It does, and funny. I'll give you another quick story. I remember one Christmas travelling home, and I was travelling from Monaghan up to Donegal, but that exact scenario happened to me I couldn't see a thing out the windscreen. It was totally frozen and you couldn't see. There was no visibility. And I pulled in at the roadside. The only thing I had in the car was a bottle of 7-Up.
I didn't know where that story was going for a second.
No,
Grania.
no.
I was starting to get very worried.
I actually had to pour the 7-Up over the windscreen because that's all I had. But even if somebody kept a bottle of water in their car, you took it with them, warm water
Fill
in a
an
bottle.
old 2 litre and stick it in the boot or something exactly. That because I've been caught out in that one. So in terms of fog lights, Grania, there's obviously the red light to the rear. It's also advisable, is it the front? The fog lights on a car, and I should know this, but I think it's always best to be obvious. Are they often set down in the bumper? Are they not daytime driving lights, or are they fog lights?
No, the fog lights would be separate. Yeah, the fog. Well, in my car anyway, I know the fog lights are separate to your headlights and to your. There's an extra switch you have to click. Yeah, I think every car is different, so it's important for people before you leave home. If you aren't familiar, with the location of your fog lights, test them out at home. Get somebody to come out to check. Are my fog lights on, front and rear? Make yourself familiar, because when you're out on the road and you hit a serious patch of fog, visibility's poor. You're then switching and tapping and trying to find your fog lights, and with the roads being icy as well, you don't want to be taking your eyes off the road searching for these switches.
For sure. And another thing too, if you don't mind as well, Grania, is that a lot of us did our driving test in a petrol or diesel manual vehicle, and more people now are driving hybrids, where sometimes it's electric a lot of the time, and obviously the power's delivery can be much quicker in this weather, but also a lot of them are automatic as well. I personally took time to try and familiarize myself with driving an automatic, but using the manuals, and I find that very useful, for going down hills or up hills, because the car would just, if I slow down, it would reach for higher gear, and then you could find, the traction going a bit. So I think it's also not a bad idea, dependent on how good a driver you are, but to familiarise yourself with driving the automatic in a manual fashion as well. I'm not sure that's going to be Garda information, but just from my experience, I'm suggesting it.
Yeah, but before you leave home, really, regardless of what type of car you're driving, familiarise yourself with every aspect of the car.
Yeah, interesting point here. I'm not sure if you got to it before I interrupted as usual. Beware of other drivers not using headlights. That's an interesting one, because we often say make sure you switch your lights on, but we as the driver who might have to also account for the fact that maybe their near side headlight is out, or they don't have their headlights on. So be aware of all of that as well.
Of course, especially when at junctions, there's some really busy junctions. And the Kilross junction there in Stranraer was very busy yesterday evening, and take extra time. And I think some people sometimes maybe feel under pressure when there's a queue of cars a mile long behind them that, they're waiting for me to go. Take your time. Don't worry about who's behind you. Think of your own safety. Take your time. And ensure, because as you say, look, a lot of cars could be coming towards you there with no headlights, with one headlight missing, and visibility's poor too. So, no, take your time before you pull out at junctions. Yeah,
all right,
definitely.
Okay.
So, just actually yesterday evening, I noticed a lot of drivers, and the fog was serious yesterday evening. They're going over by Drumkeen, I'm sure in many areas, but maybe 1 out of every 10 cars had their fog lights on. So it is extremely important. And of course, when the fog lifts again, remember to turn your fog lights off, because it can be extremely blinding to drivers. Just look, slow down. It's the same message as always, regardless of road conditions, but slow down. Always keep an eye on the speed at which you're travelling. Keep within the legal speed limit, that goes without saying, but even within the legal speed limit, you're keeping well within it, but you still have to adapt your speed level. You have to take the road conditions into consideration. An 80 kilometre speed limit zone doesn't mean you have to drive at 80. You have to take into account the road conditions and lower your speed accordingly. And we would just ask people, if the road conditions are extremely poor, which they are these days now, the past few days there have been treacherous roads. So if your journey is at all unavoidable, we would ask them to avoid it, really.
All right, now some questions from last week. I don't have this actual question, but it was in relation to a possible lack of awareness in relation to amongst a certain group of people. So do you want to address that? Yeah,
this caller actually, and I think this caller had genuine concerns, and perhaps they were right, and I was glad that they brought it to our attention actually, but I don't want to name the group of people that the question was in relation to, but the caller had concerns that maybe this group of people had a certain lack of road safety knowledge really around Irish roads.
Maybe familiar with the
not familiar with the setup, yeah. So listen, I was glad, and I would like to thank that caller for bringing it to our attention, and we are now looking into the matter, and we will advise this group of people accordingly.
Brilliant, okay.
So it was good. It was good that they brought it to our attention. Yeah.
Okay. Can I make a call to the Garda station without using my contact details? I'm aware of a house operating illegal things, but I don't want to get involved in it or end up having to give evidence against them in court. So what is the situation there?
Yeah. Well, listen. Do you know what? And I haven't got this in the notes, but I only thought of it there just when you asked the question. This person is fully free. They can send a letter to the Garda station. They don't have to sign the letter. They don't have to put their address, no personal details whatsoever. They can send a few lines, address it to the sergeant in charge at whatever, Letterkenny, Buncrana, Milford, Ballyshannon station, and they can outline their concerns in the letter in a totally anonymous fashion. They can call their local Garda station. There's absolutely no problem there. Listen, if you contact a Garda station and say, I wish to remain anonymous, nobody's going to force you to give your details. You know, your wishes for confidentiality will be respected, and your information will be taken. Nobody's going to force you to give your details. And that Garda confidential line, the 1800 666 111, when you contact that number, you're not speaking to a human being on the other end of the line. It's a recorded service, and just after the bleep, same as leaving a voice message for anybody, you leave whatever information you want. No obligation on you whatsoever to leave your name or personal details.
Yeah, and often some of this information feeds into an ongoing Garda investigation or something as well, and can be useful in that regard. Okay, that's reassuring to know. Right, charity event taking place. There's a few. Where's that? Lisnenan. Tell us about it.
That's out in Lisnenan, yeah. So we were contacted by a man, Tom. He set up a fantastic, it's a great setup out there at Lisnenan. It's in aid of multiple charities. There's a list as long as your arm of the charities at this event supporting. So the Little Blue Heroes are included within these charities. So Sergeant Doherty from the Community Policing Unit and Garda McGrath actually called out yesterday. It was launched yesterday. And there's a display of Christmas lights. There's a live animal nativity stable that the public can visit and enjoy, and kids would absolutely love it, actually. Now, I think that they enjoyed it yesterday too, going by the photos, the two ladies. But I don't know. They were struggling with a goat at one stage over their shoulder. I could see the photos, but anyway.
Now we'll have to check out the photos. Where are they?
Yeah. Well, there's goats and pigs and donkeys and every sort of animal out there. So, you know, the kids would absolutely love it, and it's a lovely idea. Yeah. But so if anybody wishes to call to see this display, I'll give the air code is F92C194. F92C194. It's out there at Lisnenan. Well worth a visit. And we would like to say, well done. It's Tom Giblins, the organiser, and we'd like to say a big well done, because I know an awful lot of work went into it.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, Granny, thank you as always.
No problem.
We really do appreciate that. That was Community Garda information here on Highland Radio with Garda Grania Doherty. It'll be available for you to listen and watch back on our social media and on Garda Síochána's Facebook page later. And of course, it's back live with you just after 10 o'clock next Tuesday. All right, we'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show today after we take this break.
Have a photo book printed for Christmas using your own selected images, titles and text at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Proud sponsors of the 9 till noon show.
Má tá tú ag iompar cluine, tóirí de vaccíní flu agus COVID-19 an breisiú atá ag teastáil do chóras a mínachta chun tú a chosans na mína macróin. Déadú an flu agus COVID-19 a bheith mar cúist le tinnis trom chúiseach agus tú ag iompar cluine agus cabhróid a chuid vaccíní leat tú féin agus de leanamh a chosanj. Cur crunne vaccíne de lista de rudí atá le déanamh agat, nó leir le de chuchtúir nó le de bhean cabhrach. Tuile ólas ag hsc.ie ó aimimenacht na Searbhise Sláinte.
The train calling at Platform 3 is the 1959 service to Cork. Calling at Charleville, Mallow and Maria in C32A starts chemo next month.
We don't always know who's at risk from COVID-19 and other viruses, but we do know how to protect them. Keep hands clean and wear a mask. Let fresh air in, get vaccinated and stay at home if you are unwell. From the HSE, for us all.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 9132033.
Us pigeons see everything when we're flapping around up here. Well, almost everything. See, burning certain fuels releases invisible toxic pollutants, which can trigger asthma and lead to serious illness. So if you're going to light a fire in your home, make sure to use low smoke fuel. Oh, and never wing it burning rubbish.
Choosing low smoke fuel is better for all of us. Let's clear the air for everyone. And remember to clean chimneys and heating appliances at least once a year. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Shop for toys from all the leading brands this Christmas at Foy's in Ballybuffet. Great value on all the latest toys, ride-ons, bikes and Bear go-karts. New deliveries arriving every week. Great offers on best-selling brands like Lego, Brooder and Schleck. From Cocomelon to Gabby's Dollhouse, you'll find great gifts for everyone on your list with a visit to Toys at Foy's Ballybuffet. Pay in 3 easy instalments with Klarna and shop local this Christmas with nationwide delivery at toysatfoys.com.
Gift ideas for him this Christmas at Evolve Clothing Letterkenny Retail Park or evolveclothing.com. And don't forget our Evolve gift card. Sale now on.
National Fuels, Churchill. Delivering home heating oil in Letterkenny and surrounding areas. 9137 400. National Fuels. Bringing you the time at...
Hello, it's 10:41. You're very welcome along to Tuesday's 9 till noon show. How are you all keeping out there? I just want to let you know that we have... there's a brilliant book. Do I have that book with me? No, it's Michael Sugrew's latest picture book. It's a striking piece of work. It's got a beautiful, striking black cover. I'll show a picture of it or for any of you that are watching it here in a moment. And it's got beautiful pictures inside of Donegal. We talked about it on the programme here. It's available right now, and it would be a lovely talking point, for a coffee table or wherever you might have it in your house or in a business. If you have people waiting in a business environment, but also it is raising funds as well. But we have very kindly been given a copy of this book, and I have it here in my hands. So for those of you who are watching, you can see it's absolutely beautiful. It's called Hidden Donegal by Michael Sugrew, and it's just full of the most amazing pictures in black and white of Donegal. And as I say, it's just a beautiful thing. And we have very kindly been given a book to give away. And because it's a photo-based book, let's go to a photo-based app. This is an exclusive Instagram competition. So if you hop on our Instagram, give the page a like there while you're at it. And in the Instagram competitions, head over there and you'll see what you have to do in order to win it. And I'll announce the winner on tomorrow's show. So as I say, it's a beautiful thing. And I think it'd be a really nice gift for someone as well. Or you can buy it for yourself. And it's available in a number of places around Letterkenny. But it is beautiful. Not just Letterkenny, Donegal as well, of course. So if you want to win a copy of that book, again, free to enter, just head over to Instagram and you will see how you enter there. And I'll announce the winner on the show tomorrow. Okay. And what's that raising? That's it's a fundraising book, of course, isn't it? It is? No, she can't hear me. Okay, I'll get back to that. I just wanted to name the beneficiary of it there, but I'll get back to that in a moment. Hi, Greg. Could the people of Galda Road get it gritted? Please, please, please. Thank you. The legal tyre limit is 1.6, not 1.8 for car tyres. Okay, Granny speaking off the top of her head there, but in terms of from memory, but I appreciate you getting in touch. Wondering how long does it take Donegal County Council to fix a few yards of footpath? Killy-Gordon is disrupted now a month with makeshift traffic lights that there's no need for. The time it takes those lights to change is ridiculous. Thank you. I haven't been through Killy-Gordon for a while. Right, Greg, if you saw Sky News last night talking about wind energy, a report suggested that the UK will lose 3 of wind and blows across the UK. Oh, sorry. It'll lose wind that blows across the UK by 2050 by the next century, the start of the next century, owing to global warming. The stress is that wind power won't be as effective. Okay, listen, wind power is not fantastic. It's great when the wind's blowing here. We get a ton of our power from wind. That's why they want to move this offshore because obviously the wind tends to blow more consistently there, but also you can use wave energy, which is employed very successfully in other countries as well. The problem is in this country, we spend an awful lot of time talking about things. We talk about it, do nothing. Then we railroad through something like legislation to try and catch up. There's very, very little proper planning in this country in terms of what are our needs in 5 years, what do we do now to get to where we need to be in 5 years, and how do we do it with the least disruption to, say, for instance, the fishing industry or people living in certain areas. But what happens instead is they wait and they wait and they wait. They hit the panic button and force through legislation, really, that I don't think it sometimes gets the scrutiny that is required. A caller says the biggest recruitment for Sinn Féin is Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael themselves, and they should blame nobody else, only themselves. Right, let's take a quick break. Our next guest just right around the corner.
The 9 till noon show, sponsored by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with a great range of digital cameras, camcorders and binoculars for Christmas. McGee's, the photographic experts, where the best costs less.
Shrink your Christmas bill at Dunn Stores. Delicious free-range 4-kilo Irish turkeys are just $39.99. And incredible unsmoked centre-cut Irish ham is now just $13.59 for 2.75 kilos. That's 20% off. King prawn cocktail and oak and peat cold smoked salmon are just €6. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Dunn Stores. Make Christmas for everyone. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used to next grocery shop of €50 or more.
On the road for Gas Networks Ireland this winter, you know all about people's energy concerns. Because there are concerns. Every winter and all year round. Rest assured, your gas experts are here. Keeping Ireland's energy moving and you informed.
Oh, great. Thanks for coming so quickly.
No problem. How can I help? For expert advice, go to gasnetworks.ie/experts.
Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. New for Christmas. Check out the O'Neill's Donegal Peak range for all the family. Lightweight padded jackets matched up with quarter zips and tees. Donegal training jersey for kids and adults from only €35. Save €10. New range of Donegal hats and accessories for that ideal Christmas gift. Give the gift of sport this Christmas. In store and online at bmcsports.ie.
Ho, ho, ho!
Pet Value, Ballbuffet and Buncrana have a fantastic range of Christmas stockings, toys, treats and leads, with 40% off selected pet beds while stocks last. We have a wide range of animals and birds in both stores. Pick up the perfect gift for you or your pets this Christmas at Pet Value. Open 7 days.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €25 million.
Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie.
The National Lottery. It could be you.
Watson Menswear in Letterkenny have a gift to suit this Christmas. Casual shirts and polo shirts, knitwear, jeans and so much more. Top names like Superdry, Penguin and Mishmash. Open every day to Christmas, Sundays 1 to 6 and late every Thursday and Friday. A deposit will secure any item, and if you're unsure, a gift voucher always makes a great present. Watson Menswear on Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com.
All right, a new survey by Matrix Recruitment has revealed that the majority of workers in Ireland say they've experienced discrimination in some form at work. The 2022 Workplace Equality Survey found that almost 3 in 4 people, 71%, have experienced some form of discrimination in their place of employment. Breda Dooley of Matrix Recruitment joins us on the programme now to discuss this survey. I mean, that kind of talks to, I thought, is it too extreme to call it like, you know, Ireland really being a sort of a toxic working environment?
I suppose it is quite high to say that 3 out of 4 people have experienced some form of discrimination. But I suppose the findings from the report are people's perception and maybe experiences. While they mightn't have experienced it directly themselves in the workplace, they might have seen it happening in the workplace, or they might have seen it happening in another person's workplace. We're aware of and heard of stories around, the taxi driver or the bus driver experiencing some form of racial abuse, or even the coffee shop attendant. Why I suppose it's quite high is that people are more aware of what discrimination is. There's a lot more talk about it out there, so there's a lot more knowledge. You see a lot of
just in relation to that. And sorry, Bridget, got across. You say, for instance, religious discrimination. Someone might make a joke, and some people might find it offensive, and others might not. if you felt that you were not being included in something because you were a little bit older, some people might go, oh, that's a young person's game, and they wouldn't. But the one that sort of jumps out at me is sexual harassment. 29% of people surveyed said they've experienced sexual harassment. I don't think that sort of the interpretation of that is as broad as it might be for some of the other. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but that really is. That's almost 1 in 3 people have experienced sexual harassment, and it's less open to interpretation, in my view, anyway.
Well, I suppose maybe they mightn't have experienced it. They might. It's people's perception and maybe have viewed it. That kind of we're more aware. That's what I'm saying. People are more aware of what discrimination and the types, like discrimination comes in many forms. So they're more aware of what the types of discrimination is. And, that I suppose we've all seen the ad campaigns or the talking about, the little pat on the shoulder, and which can make people feel uncomfortable, or that little snide remark about how you're dressed, or, that can be perceived as sexual discrimination.
Yeah, okay. Religious discrimination, as I say, 24% there. Exclusion from activities because of age, 21%. And pay discrimination, 23%. Obviously, maybe everyone, would have to think of their own behaviour, but too, I presume line managers would really need to sort of take heed to this, you would imagine, because the consequences of this can be obviously in terms of productivity or happiness in the workplace, or indeed maybe down the line, some sort of a case being taken.
Yes, it is. It's up to the employer to have their staff fully trained, and policies that, the companies need to make sure that correct policies and procedures in place. Like, one thing that did come out of the findings from this survey is that when we asked, were employers putting processes and policies and training, that was quite high. The figure compared to last year was quite high, that employers are working around this to try and create a 0% tolerance. But then again, it is still quite high, but then it's up to individuals as well to know kind of what's right from wrong.
All right. Now, this is your survey, right? So I'm not trying to pick holes, but you say that people are becoming more aware now. I can't imagine people have become 54% more aware over the course of one single year. And that is the increase in the amount of people who have experienced some form of discrimination. It's gone from 46% in 2021 to 71% in 2022. Have you considered why we have seen such a jump?
I would define, I suppose what we're seeing is that it still comes back to that people are more, there's a lot, like, I don't know, you see a lot more campaigns out there. And again, it's not that people are experiencing it themselves, it's the perception. And again, it mightn't be happening to them, but it could be happening to their colleague in work. They could see it, or again, it's outside, it's in another person's workplace. So it's not that it's directly everybody's experienced it, it's the perception.
Right. Okay. So in other words, if there were two people I worked with that had a closer relationship, right?
Yes.
I could perceive that it was an unequal, closer relationship, and I would be recorded as experiencing discrimination in work.
I suppose what we're saying is that people are seeing it. Let's say they might
That's
be
what I'm saying, but they're interpreting it, so it could be misinterpreted as much as anything else. Right. Okay. I'm only going by what you're saying, Brady. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out here exactly what's going on here. Because, as I say, there's a lot of people in workplaces. We're going, 71%? But maybe people are more aware after conversations like this. Yes. So, is there any particular areas of employment? I don't know if you drilled into this in terms of those that you polled, but it was significant, 2,700 adults. Is there any particular areas that it seems to be more prevalent in than others, discrimination?
Ethnic minority was one of the most common findings, as well as racism was quite high in the survey of discrimination. Ireland is a different country to what it was 10 years ago. Last week you would have seen there in Kerry, where I think 3,500 people received their Irish citizenship from 130 different countries. So, so we're different. Ireland is completely different, to where it was.
All right, brilliant stuff. Now, in terms of your company, Matrix Recruitment, more people than there are jobs, more jobs than people. What's the balance out there at the moment? I presume it depends on which industry we're talking of, but what's your read as we head into 2023?
Yes, it's at the moment there's quite a skill shortages in certain areas. I specifically myself work in finance recruitment, and there's not enough of qualified accountants out there for a job. So it is starting to slightly slow down. I saw where the IDA expect to the market to maybe slow a little bit from next half of next year. But definitely there's a skill shortage out there for certain roles. People are looking for a lot more of this hybrid working, some remote working. Employers are kind of maybe pulling back a little bit, where they're expecting people to be in the office a little bit more. So the expectations are different to where they would have been maybe 2 years ago. Candidates are looking for a lot more, and it can be very hard to actually match that. And if they're getting that in their current workplace and they won't get it in where they're moving to, they won't move. So it's a harder sell to try and get candidates to move at the moment.
All right, brilliant stuff. Thanks for your time. People can get more information about Matrix Recruitment and that survey, I presume, by searching Matrix Recruitment. Thanks for your time, Breda. Lovely to chat to you.
Greg.
Have a lovely day. Take care. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. Right, so I mentioned that book. Michael Sugru, 200 of his personal photographs showcasing perspectives of Donegal in collaboration with many Donegal poets, by the way, reflecting the county's literary and artistic heritage. Income raised from Hidden Donegal will aid Donegal Hospice, Donegal Clinical Research Academy and Breast Centre Northwest Research. And the book will be formally launched at an event. Is it this evening in Letterkenny? Okay. And books are available in Alexander's Bookshop, Ballabufay, Amelia's in Letterkenny, Bookmarks Letterkenny, in both Courtyard and Shopping Centre, the Breast Unit Letterkenny, Cons Camera in Dublin, Charlie Brown's Bookshop in Middle Street, Galway, the Donegal Hospice, Fanad Lighthouse, Inish Pharmacies in Ishone, McAliff's, Dunfanaghy, McFadden Shop, Ramelton, Four Masters in Donegal Town, O'Donnell's Pharmacy and the Silver Tassie Hotel in Letterkenny. So, okay, and you can win a copy of that book and check it out by going to Highland Radio Donegal's Instagram page.
Customise your Christmas cards or create a photo book using photos from your smartphone or Facebook at mcgees.ie or in store on Main Street, Letterkenny. Sponsors of the 9 till noon show.
Ireland's biggest ever tribute weekend is coming back to Donegal. Trib Bash 2023 is taking place at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny on the 10th and 11th of February. The nation's very best tribute acts take to the stage with the fantastic award-winning Johnny Cash and June Carter tribute show Cash Returns, the sellout show Mac Fleetwood as Fleetwood Mac, the smash hit ABBA tribute with Bjorn Identity, and the show-stopping Queen tribute. Limited tickets available now at the hotel reception and online at eventbrite.ie. Trib Bash 2023 at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, your ideal Christmas present.
Wetsuit on and underwater by air.
Aprons on, breakfast orders in, conversation flowing, loving every second.
Every day is different. There's always new faces. It really suits me.
It fits my schedule. I can see friends, do my yoga, balance work with life and enjoy both.
My career in tourism works for me.
And mine works for me.
Get a career in tourism that works for you. Visit tourismcareers.ie.
This week in Home Store and More, all Christmas tree lights are still all half price. Choose from our wide range of Christmas tree lights with over 100 different types and colours. Find just the right tree light for you from 20 to 2,000 bulbs, all half price. Like save $64.50 on our top-selling 2,000 warm white cluster lights. That's right, all our Christmas tree lights are all half price. But hurry, because when they're gone, they're gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More, a happy home.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Work's annual Chris Kindle just 2 days away. Wait, no, it's today. And you got Kira nothing. You could gift her the stapler. Nah, that won't work. Chocolate? Nah. Why not really make their day with an all-cash scratch card from the National Lottery? With millions in cash prizes to be won instantly, you'll be on to a winner with an all-cash scratch card as a Chris Kindle present. The National Lottery. It could be them. Gift responsibly.
Whatever the weather this December, Letterkenny will bring a warm front to your shopping and great value for your pocket. Highland Weather Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK.
Okay, the weather forecast for this morning and for the rest of the day. Really no change. Very cold, fog lingering, some sunshine later. Temperatures -1 to +2 degrees. It's time for a news update. Good morning, Michaela.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A member of An Garda Síochána has been injured after a patrol car was rammed in Ballyshannon. In a series of dangerous driving incidents last week, a second Garda was forced to seek cover when a car was driven at them. Garda Grania Doherty says it was a very traumatic and frightening experience for Gardaí involved. A special meeting of Donegal County Council will take place on Friday. Cahirlock Councillor Liam Blaney has called the meeting to discuss steps the council can take to secure alternative accommodation immediately for families whose homes are worst affected by defective concrete blocks. An update on a meeting with the Housing Minister is also being sought. Well, progress on the processing of the defective concrete blocks grant scheme applications has been welcomed. However, the chair of Donegal County Council's Strategic Policy Committee on Housing says it must continue at a faster pace. To date, 1,076 Stage 1 applications have been received, with 436 approved and 639 being assessed. 118 Stage 2 grant approval applications have been submitted. 73 of those have been approved and 42 are waiting further information. Provisional fish quota discussions have ended in Brussels, with Marine Minister Charlie McConlogue welcoming what he says are a number of key decisions on quotas which will benefit the Irish fleet. However, the quotas agreed this morning after marathon overnight talks are only in place for the first 3 months of 2023 as the EU-UK agreement is not finalised. Well, the Killybegs Fishermen's Organisation has described the meeting as another very unsatisfactory chapter. CEO Sean O'Donoghue says that's exacerbated this year by the fact that the no deal has been signed between the EU and UK, but he says those talks ended on Sunday without a consensus reached. People on prepaid power should expect more energy credits in January under new measures expected to be approved by Cabinet today. An extra €10 million will be added to the Energy Hardship Fund. And Gardaí in Donegal are urging people to ensure their sheds are locked after a number of items were taken from a shed at a house on Conan Road in Killybegs last Wednesday night or into Thursday morning. They're also seeking information about the theft of diesel from a lorry in Killygordon on Thursday night or Friday morning and a car fire in Carndonagh on Saturday. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Okay, Michaela, thank you very much indeed for that. No, that's the wrong one. Here it is. Okay, right, what we're going to be talking about very shortly is if you're single. We were talking earlier on, about relationships amongst families and how that can cause complications at Christmas, but also single people out there too can feel, I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase before, but they can feel single shamed. We're going to be speaking to Bumble's resident sex and relationship expert on that. So if you have any questions as it relates to being single as we approach Christmas, or you've experienced being single shamed because you've maybe made a choice or you're waiting for the right person, or you know what, it's just your own business. Let us know your story on 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 07491 25,000. That and much more coming up after these messages.
The 9 till noon show with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie. Order your prints, poster or canvas online and have them delivered direct to your door or collect in store.
Whatever you want this Christmas, you'll find joy for all at Boots. We've amazing deals on exclusive star gifts, including better than half price on Soap and Glory and Estee Lauder. And with more star gifts than ever before, online and in store, you can save on something special for everyone. Selected stores and boots.ie subject to availability. Offer ends 24th December.
With the ongoing war in Ukraine affecting the cost of energy, many of us are facing a challenging winter. Through Budget 23, Government is introducing a range of supports to lessen the financial impact on families, households and businesses, and will continue to monitor the situation in the coming months to protect those in difficulty. It's important that everyone stays warm and well. But where safe and possible to do so, reducing energy use can also reduce bills. Changes like turning your thermostat down by 1 degree and considering how often you use energy-intensive appliances like tumble dryers can make a big difference. For information on available supports and energy-saving advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Hello, Farmer Tinny here. Tinny's Toys are now open 7 days a week. New stock arriving weekly. Our Christmas Club is now open. Check out our entire range online at tinnystoys.com, where we offer free shipping on orders over €75. Buy now, pay later with Klarna. No extra charges. Tinny's Toys, Ireland's largest farm toy superstore. Down by.
Candles, lanterns, Christmas trees, decorations and all types of lights. Everything you need for Christmas. Experience the magic of Christmas at Cooney's. Our biggest and best Christmas shop has outstanding value on lights and trees. There really is something for everyone at Cooney's Letterkenny Retail Park.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Brendan Shine and Philomena Begley at the Mount Erical Hotel, Letterkenny on January 6th and Millennium Forum Derry on March 18th. Tickets now on sale at both venues and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with Philomena Begley and Brendan Shine in Letterkenny and Derry. The perfect Christmas gift.
Okay, I think people of all ages and all different backgrounds at one time or another maybe have been single by choice, or maybe they're seeking someone and they've had to answer questions on it, maybe even feel like they have to justify it or face questions that make them feel less of a person, or maybe not good enough just as a person on their own. And some call it single shaming. Dr. Caroline West is Bumble's resident sex and relationship expert and joins us now. Caroline, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I am good. I wonder, and before we dig into this a little bit, I wonder if this single shaming phenomenon, the majority of the time, it's people are trying to make conversation and they don't think it's offensive, or they don't think it can cause hurt. Do you know, it reminds me of, say, for instance, if a couple have just got together and you say to them, or someone might say to them, when are you going to start a family? But you would ask that question, think it's a nice, positive thing to say, but you might not realise that maybe they choose not to and they don't want to have to explain that, or maybe they're struggling to start a family and it could be very personal. So do you think a lot of single shaming might be accidental? It's just us putting our foot in it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's mostly well meant, of like, that's what we do in society. We get married, we have kids, or that's what we used to do anyway. So when people choose not to do that, or they don't go down that path, people might think, well, there's something wrong with them, or, like they just don't think first before they really ask the person. And I suppose that's a lesson for us all to remember, that these might be intensely personal and painful conversations to have to people. So this is, I suppose, an opportunity for us all to think, we can ask maybe some different questions to people.
Maybe not personal ones that will cause a row over the turkey, for starters.
Yes, Christmas is stressful enough.
And I think too, a lot of emotions, positive, negative, and wherever in between, can be amplified at Christmas time. So maybe if someone is single or just out of a relationship, they might feel particularly vulnerable or lonely at Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think even about the ads that we see, it's constant, like, be with your family, be with your loved one, twinkly lights and hot chocolates and all this kind of thing. And, it is really a time, like, look at Love Actually, that's one of the biggest films, and it's all about people trying to hook up with each other and, manage relationships and things like that. So when you do go to family and friends, you may already be a tad bit sensitive then, so when they bring these questions in, it's just kind of a disastrous mix, for some people. So I suppose it's about managing how you approach the subject, and as every other person, don't be asking that person, when are you going to go meet someone? What's wrong with you? When are you going to have kids? All those kind of things, and just realizing we can all manage the situation and make Christmas a little less confrontational.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like earlier on, and it's by coincidence that the two items we're on today, we were talking about family estrangement, and of course, again, that can feel more at Christmas. But I presume when people are invited to a wedding, or maybe invited to a 21st or a 40th birthday party, and they're single and they wish to attend alone and meet friends there who might have their partners with them or not, that it's not exclusive to Christmas, but I think maybe it can be more in focus at Christmas time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Bumble have found that almost 40% of people said they feel their friends and family made them feel bad for not bringing that significant other along to those parties and stuff. It's like, oh, you're turning up alone, like, and it kind of leads to them feeling unvalued and unloved. It's like, what's wrong with just me on my own? Why do I have to have somebody there as well? So I suppose, the ways to deal with that are maybe having like some stock answers prepared so that you're not caught off guard. You might think your auntie after a few drinks might have some questions for you. So if you kind of have that stock answers prepared,
Right, let's role play. Are you,
okay.
are you still single?
I got to check on that turkey. Just check it.
That's
still
not in my
cooking.
prepared answers here. Now
No,
you're
but it
making me
works.
feel like I've asked the question in earnest. But it's to deflect, is it then? Because I suppose it's not you. I think people will know to come to expect it. So it is good to have some stock answers there, is it? We shouldn't have to, but I suppose
Absolutely.
if it defuses it, maybe.
Yeah, it's the same as estrangement as well. Sometimes it's good to have those boundaries put in place already. And Bumble is a big advocate of like dating with boundaries and dating in a very conscious kind of way. So if you're going there and you know this is a sensitive subject for you, and after a few sherries, somebody starts asking the question about 6 o'clock, well, maybe that's your time to go out for a walk, or maybe that's your time to take the kids out to play with the new presents or whatever like that. Just different ways. And then maybe turning into it like, well, you're still single. Why don't we set you up on Bumble? Why don't I'll take a few selfies for you. We'll get your dating profile put up and put it back on them and see what they think about it. So you can have fun with it, but you can still just like protect your peace as well.
But some of the questions can be really direct, like are you still single? I think that's an easier one to sort of dodge and turn it around, and you can say that's my choice, you know what I mean? And you could probably say I look around me, and to be honest with you, I'm the happiest person in my friends group. It depends on how you wanted to get in there, whether you want to fire a grenade back or just defuse it, right? But then you can ask questions like what's wrong. People could ask you questions, well, what's wrong with you? Right. Now, you might actually be feeling very vulnerable off the back of a long-term relationship or something as well. I mean, that can be really quite a hurtful, cutting question that might trigger an instant response of emotion, for an example. So a little more difficult to prepare for a question like that, perhaps.
Absolutely. And I think this is where we come into like conscious dating and constantly kind of reflecting on ourselves and thinking, okay, what did I learn from that last relationship? What do I want going forward in relationships? What do I even want? Do I want to be single? And, can I be happy single as well if I'm waiting to meet someone? And so it's not talking about, I should just meet someone, whoever walks in the door, like talk to them and say, well, I'm waiting for someone special, somebody that I want to have whatever it is, a long-term relationship with. So I'm kind of being fussy and finding the right person. And maybe you can bring in your friend's experience and say, well, I've seen lots of people breaking up, post-COVID, things are changing and people kind of understand that a little bit more. But I think it's a cultural change as well. Like lots of people, our grandparents' generation, they didn't really have a choice. They were married and had a pile of kids, very, very young. And nowadays, we don't have to do that. We have much more choice and we can stay single and we can not have kids, or we can have a pile of kids if we want to. So I think it's really important to be like, what do I want? Like, how can I date on my terms?
Well, more people now might want to shift and drift. Do you say that? I'm just
I mean,
because then you could say, are they going to judge me? I mean, well, maybe you should say, you know what? Well, I think you used to call it playing the field or whatever it might be. So that is a lot of people, I think, relationship choice. Now you could have a whole conversation about how beneficial that is to whomever, but that's their own business. Everyone has their own canoe to paddle, so to speak. So just be honest, own it. Be whoever you are. Yeah,
absolutely. Right. And your friends and family should love you how you are, and that should be regardless of what kind of relationship that you're in or what your dating experience is.
But another question then that starts getting a bit personal, like what is wrong with you? Another question, you need to be less fussy, right? Firstly, why should I? But also that sort of makes that you're the problem. Again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a bad thing. Like, people are saying, oh, well, if you're fussy, if you're rejecting someone because you don't like their shoes or their belt or something like that. But like having standards is not a bad thing. And waiting for the person who, fits you on your level of your values, your goals, your relationship style, all those kind of things. It's okay to wait for that. You don't have to hook up with someone just because they're cute or just because you're lonely, whatever it is. So I think people don't see that sometimes. They just want to see you paired off and they're like, go, 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 go. And you can say, well, no, actually, I'm looking for someone who wants to travel the world with me, or I'm looking for someone who wants to go through the mortgage process with me or something like that. And explaining that to people, you don't have to give them every single detail, but if you can kind of pick a few that you're comfortable with and even say, oh, I'm going traveling next year. And it doesn't matter if that isn't true. You know, your auntie isn't going to follow you up and go, where did you go? Where did you go? You know, it doesn't matter. You can just say, oh, COVID changed the plans, or work, I didn't get time off work or something.
But you see, the thing is it is probably well intended, even if the words can be sharp, because you probably leave the room and they go, oh, I hope she meets, or I hope he meets someone and settles down. He deserves that. You could argue maybe they don't deserve it, but anyway, it all depends.
It's not for everyone.
It all depends, of course. It's not for everyone. And also, too, you might be asked, are you on any dating apps? These are so personal questions. Maybe after a couple of shares they might slip out, but I think, like, talk about the weather. I always think really you kind of need to make sure you've got your house fully in order before you start poking around someone else's attic. But anyway, maybe it's just a human condition.
I think if a lot more people took that advice, Greg, we might be a happier society in that stage. But, you can even deflect it and go, well, what about your dating app? I can set you up on it. Come on, I'll get you ready for it. And then just turn it around like that. Because I don't think anyone would want to show their dating app to their family and, show their profile and stuff like that. But I think it's, we use humor to deflect things a lot, especially as Irish people. We're really great at humor. But again, just be like, oh, I'll tell you about that later on. I'm just going to go to the loo now. Or, oh, I ate too much turkey, I'm going to go for a walk, I'll talk about it later. And they'll have forgotten by then, because there's so many distractions on Christmas. They'll be knee deep in the sherry.
Yeah, and this is what we kind of, we're covering an awful lot of different stuff here, and I suppose we're trying to think in a very open-minded way and all that kind of stuff. But, then we as humans maybe are different, actually, and we really are quite predictable, and we are all searching for that life partner. So in the likes of Bumble, is it Bumble or Bumbler?
Bumble,
right? Okay, I thought you said Bumbler, but anyway, Bumble. Do you see a surge in sign-ups maybe October and November? Maybe, there is a rush on for people because that's what they actually want. They're not necessarily happily single. Again, my default position is up to every individual to be who they want to be and how they want to be. But do you see trends where you see a rush of sign-ups because maybe people want the Love Actually?
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of season is known as cuffing season.
Oh,
so September onwards. So it's people who realize, I don't want to be lonely for the holidays and I want to have something. They tend generally to break up before Valentine's Day in a lot of cases.
So it's effectively the gym of relationships.
Yeah, exactly. The New Year's resolution doesn't last very long. But then you also have a lot of people breaking up after Christmas because I think they realize, maybe this isn't the right relationship.
A lot of people break up after holidays as well. Where you are in that situation where you're in a small space with someone for a week and you learn an awful lot.
Yeah, definitely. And you're going, I don't like traveling with this person. No, definitely not. And there's actually a lot of divorces and breakups in January. So people kind of hold things together for the sake of Christmas. And then January comes and they're like, no, so that's like a global statistic that January is like divorce month for a lot of people. So I think, the matches or the sign-ups to dating apps will totally soar again in January. So when cuffing season's kind of over and they're thinking, I want a New Year's resolution, I want a new relationship, all that kind of thing, people go back onto Bumble.
Poor old auntie, half locked on Sherry, well intentioned. She's getting an awful lot of attention today. But I would imagine too, friends, like even people maybe you think that should know better, your peers, they might try and set you up, or what about that guy, or constantly pressure you, or you need to get over him or her, I think a good friend should give their space, be there to support them, but give them the space to work through it on their own, because there is nothing as personal as that personal decision as to whether to start dating or to be with someone. So it's not always the tiddly auntie as well, and it's not, as I say, it's not always Christmas. I think friends need to be understanding of the position a person might be in, because even your best friend, you might not want to divulge everything to them.
Absolutely. And you can just say, oh, do you know what? I'm sick of talking about it. I don't want to talk about it again. Or that counts as that's what a boundary looks like amongst your friends. Or if you can say, oh, stop setting me up. I just want to have a break from things. So speak up with your friends. And if they react badly to that, maybe they're not really your true friends. They should be able to support you instead of like pushing you into what they want for you. They should be letting you grow and find your own pace as well. Because we have to grieve relationships as well. You know, we don't just break up and we're like, that's grand. I'm perfectly happy now to go on to the next person. We need to take that time to process. And also, it's not a bad thing to be single. You don't have to be grieving. You don't have to be sad. You can just be like really happy that you don't have to pick up someone else's dirty underwear off the floor or have arguments about who puts out the bins. Like it's, you know, people find their terms and their levels. And I think, yeah, we should be more respectful of that. So talking to our friends and setting those boundaries is really, really important.
Yeah, and again, the whole conversation here isn't it sort of drifted between the more serious and the light-hearted. It is about people's feelings. And as we said, I think right from the beginning, Caroline, and we agreed, I don't think people are intentionally hurting people's feelings, but it's just a little bit of awareness. We don't want people walking on eggshells either. It's just a little bit of awareness as to how other people might feel. I don't think anyone wants to intentionally hurt anyone.
No, definitely not. And it might be just one comment from them, but it might be the 10th comment that you as an individual have heard. So,
oh boy, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a constant.
And listen, I would say even depending on what I'd say teachers, when they go out socializing and someone says, what do you do for a living? I'm a teacher. Oh, you're enjoying your long summers. You know what I mean? Like, so we have a tendency as humans just to have these sort of defaults, don't we? Where we sort of step
absolutely. As a sex educator, that's all I get all the time. And it might be that one question someone else has asked. And I'm like, I've heard this 50 times this week. And, you know, that's fine. But like, yeah, so having that awareness, I think of like, you know, maybe people just don't want to go on and on about their single status or their dating life all the time.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff. I think it's some good advice in there. And as I say, we're not trying to be all, I don't want to use the word, but woke or ask people to step on eggshells. As I say, I don't think people want to intentionally hurt somebody else. And it's just to give people a wee bit of a heads up. Have a lovely Christmas.
You too, Greg.
Take care of yourself. It's been lovely speaking to you. Dr. Caroline West, Bumble's resident sex and relationship expert. 08660 25,000. What is it with Irish families, asked a caller. If you're not seeing anyone, it's when will you meet someone? Then you are no sooner dating till no word of wedding bells, then no word of children. Yeah, it is. It's any sign of the old wedding bells? Exactly, yeah, we do. But as I say, I think a lot of it is well-intentioned. I love to see my son at Christmas, and I know even though he never said it, that he is gay. But I hate when my sisters try arranging dates with their friends and daughters for him. How can I put a stop to it? Like when you say you know, do you know but he hasn't said yet? Like I think what something that might be really nice in this situation, if you haven't had the conversation, even though he's never said it, why not maybe use this Christmas as and have a bit of space that maybe he could say it to you. If that's the case, you know, a comfortable situation where he knows that everything's going to be okay, or she's going to, to he in this case, that he's going to be okay. Can you imagine the Christmas gift that might be for that person? I don't think if he was able to have the confidence of his mother or father, if this is the case, I think that just might be the greatest Christmas gift he'd ever get. That he could, if it is the case, and if it's what he wants, be himself with his ma or da or both at Christmas. And I think then his sisters trying to arrange dates with their friends' daughters for him, that would pale into insignificance. I think that would be a lovely gift for him this Christmas, or him, if it's appropriate. But that would cover an awful lot of your question, I think. I dread family gatherings as a 23-year-old woman. No one ever asks about my career, which is going great, by the way. I know they pity me for being single. Why? You're probably the happiest person around. And that's not me having a slight against relationships or whatever. It's not that. But I mean, yeah, ask about your career. How are you doing? Don't define you as one half of a relationship that you're not in. Another caller says, I hate the thought of going home with the same old questions. Are you not seeing anyone, a good-looking girl like you? I now do say to the aunts, I suppose the next time I see you will be the wake house. It soon's kill the question. Well, it's not only kill the question, it could kill Christmas as well. But right, okay, I mean, Fight fire with fire. That is quite the response, but if you're sick and tired of it. All right, keep them coming into us, your experiences. 08660 25000, 08660 25000, or call us on 074 91 25000. Greg, single shaming is another makey uppy word that we have imported from the US. The Americans can't seem to do anything without consulting their therapist. I think Irish people are more than capable of not worrying too much about whether they are single or not. America has a lot to answer for, and we care getting as bad here. Do we need to get advice about every single aspect of our lives? We're trying to just maybe not hurt people. It's no big... This is not part of a big agenda or a woke agenda or anything. This is just considering how someone else might feel. You know, we can't just go around the place like a wrecking ball, not worrying that if we offend someone, and if we do, say, oh, you're like an all-American there, you know, be Irish, stiff up a lip and all that stuff. You know, I got hit as a kid and never do me any harm. Well, where does it all end? You know, it's all in the... Right, okay, the time is fast approaching when people won't talk to each other for the fear of offending some sensitive soul. Why be nosy about someone's private life? They're single, right? That's their business. Is there nothing more interesting about them that you would struggle over the whole of the Christmas period, but not to ask them, are they single? When are they getting in a relationship? When are they getting married? When are you having kids? Like, there's so much to talk about. It's a real problem if you can try and avoid not asking something that might offend someone. But anyway, listen, I just don't understand why people feel they should have the right to go around and upset people regardless, because they maybe feel really strong in themselves or whatever it might be.
Fill your stocking this Christmas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of the 9 till noon show. McGee's.ie, or like us on Facebook for a chance to win some great prizes.
Things we don't like to share. Uncomfortable moments under the mistletoe. Oh dear. Things we do like to share. Gifts, especially if they're from Samsung. Because this year, you can claim cash back on selected Samsung products with €220 on a Galaxy Z Flip 4 and €55 on a pair of Galaxy Buds 2 Pro. Merry Christmas to them and to you. Find out more at Samsung.com.
Purchase before the 20th December 22 from a participating retailer. Claim from Samsung within 60 days of purchase. T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio has a Christmas cracker of a competition. How would you like to win €400 worth of home heating oil from O'DonnellFuels.ie, Crawley and Letterkenny? A fantastic gold meat hamper from Joe McGee Butchers. A huge Christmas goodies hamper from Kelly Centra. And a €200 Shop LK card courtesy of Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce. To enter, just answer the following. What word is missing from this iconic Christmas song? I'm dreaming of a Christmas. Text Highland followed by your name and answer to 57080. The winner will be announced on the Jive Time show on Friday 16th of December. Highland Radio, helping make Christmas extra special.
I'm nipping to Super Value. OK, tea, mince pies, weekly voucher on my app. Oh, and a brand new car.
Your trip to Super Value could look even better with our new Real Rewards Scan to Win monthly prize draw. Every scan of your Real Rewards card equals one chance to win. This December, you could win a brand new Kia Niro hybrid car, a family trip to Disneyland, a prize in every Super Value, and more. So, start scanning. T's and C's apply. See supervalue.ie for full details and how to enter the draw.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mizell and Patrick Feeney are back on tour with a brand new live show full of music, song and side-splitting laughter. See the Three Amigos live. Clonry Hotel, Letterkenny, Tuesday, January 3rd. Tickets priced €35 at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie, where additional fees may apply. A ticket for the Three Amigos live in concert is the ideal Christmas gift.
Happy Christmas from the Three Amigos!
Join Derek Ryan for a night of dancing at the Melon Country Inn Hotel Oma this Friday the 16th of December. That's Derek Ryan live at the Melon Country Inn Hotel Oma this Friday the 16th of December. Pay at the door.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
For all your home heating needs, oil, gas and solid fuels. National Fuels, Pierce Road, Letterkenny. 9137400. National Fuels, bringing you the time at
Okay, your calls and comments, keep them coming in to us. They're on a wide range of topics, but what we want to do is give you a last listen to our Say What competition. We are giving the winner today a ticket into the €30,000 car draw, but also they're in the draw for a fantastic €100 voucher. Actually, we're going to go straight into it now. I think I've got my contestants online. Right, okay, let's hear what the clip was.
And we will give you that all-important real soon again here in the programme.
Right, okay, that could be a number of things. That's Kevin Fury there from the daytime weekends. All right, let's go first to Andriana French in Drumkeen. Good morning, how are you keeping, Andriana?
I'm not so bad. How are you?
Great to have you on the programme. It's chilly up in Drumkeen, I presume, is it?
Oh, it's freezing.
I think you always get it
It's
about...
freezing 6 o'clock this morning too.
You always get it 3 or 4 degrees lower than everywhere else, I think.
Well, it was -6 this morning.
My word, okay, we'll stay warm as much as you can. Andriana, what do you think the answer is to this question?
Would it be Story?
It wouldn't. I'm so sorry, Andriana. It's not. I'm sorry. But listen, we will give you a lovely 9 till noon show mug. You're one of few people to have them. I know it's not much
sure.
of
I have a ticket for the car draw
well,
anyway,
sure,
so the mug is as good as any.
The only thing you're missing is the €100 voucher to the Inishowen Gateway Hotel. But listen, fair play. Good stuff. Thank you, Andriana. Have a lovely day.
Happy days.
All right,
Thank
and
you.
happy
Bye-bye.
Christmas to you. Take care of yourself. Sean is in St. Johnston. Sean, what do you believe the answer is?
Question.
Yeah, right. That is exactly the answer. Let us hear it played out.
And we will give you that all-important question real soon again
No,
here in the programme.
Question or answer? Question. Yeah, you got the answer is question. I'm confused between question and answer, but you're right. You are in the draw on Friday for the €100 voucher for the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, and you're also getting a ticket into the €30,000 Nissan Juke prize draw here at Highland Radio. So well done to you, Sean. Thanks for taking part.
Grand.
Have a lovely
Greg,
day.
okay.
Bye-bye. Happy Christmas to you. Righty-o. What should we do now? What about this? All right, that's his Shakin' Stevens. Merry Christmas, everyone. Right, I'm joined on the programme now by Tanya. Tanya, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the call today.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. Now, you had to, you ended up in Letterkenny University Hospital with your son. And it wasn't, it's already incredibly stressful, of course, but it was not a very good experience for the family, I presume, Tanya.
No, it wasn't. So it was this day last Tuesday. Oisín had a slight temperature, but his hands went into a spasm which concerned me as he has cerebral palsy and different neurological disorders. So the best thing to do was to get him up the road and get him checked out. So we arrived at the hospital about 9 a.m. and we were still sitting there by 6 o'clock that evening, still waiting to be seen by the medical team. He went through a lot of different tests, blood tests, CT scans, which is quite traumatic for a child that has complex medical needs and autism as well. So it was just a very, very long wait in A&E, surrounded by a lot of people all waiting to see the doctors, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. We waited, I think it was 32 hours we were up there before he actually got a bed.
Did you say
Oisín was
32? Sorry, Tanya, did you say 32?
Yeah.
Wow.
32 hours before he had a proper bed. So he's a wheelchair user. He did get a trolley after, I think, maybe 14 hours. So yeah, it was just not a nice experience, and especially for somebody that doesn't actually understand what is happening. He was totally out of his routine that day. He should have just went to school, and he goes to Little Angels. They're fantastic up there, carried on with his day, but instead his whole world was just turned upside down in a couple of hours. Just didn't understand what was happening, and not a pleasant experience.
And do you think that this is a reflection on the health system as a whole, Tanya, or do you think that they should sort of maybe dependent on the individual, they should make decisions? Do you know what I mean? Rather than him being seen as the same as the person sitting next to him, do you think each individual should be assessed to see if they have particular needs? I mean, is that too much to ask, or do you think that is what should be happening, Tanya?
No, I think it's definitely what should be happening. Like I said, he didn't understand what was happening. He was totally out of his routine. And like at one stage in A&E, I think it was like 3 o'clock that morning, I was begging the nurses, there's no way he can be moved to peds. As there was people coming in and out of A&E, there was a woman very disorientated and distressed coming in, crying for help for 6 hours. Like the nurses were doing their very best for her, but it just wasn't the environment that my son should have been in. And it was only the next morning when we did get a bed. Oisín was 16, and one of the nurses made a comment, it's such a pity he's not 15 and a half to have got the bed in peace. And I just thought, under the circumstances, if 6 months made a difference for him to be assessed as not being a child that had needs to get a bed in the pediatric department, that it's not fair. It's just really not fair. And
there should be flexibility there, dependent on the situation, Tanya, that would overrule that 6 months.
I know everybody is in A&E for the same reason, and it's just when you see Oisín sitting there, visibly distressed, uncomfortable, sitting in his wheelchair for all that time, no facilities to be able to take him and change him and make him comfortable. It was very, very unfair.
Yeah, and you know what? And I know your main concern, Tanya, is Oisín. That's obvious. But also, I mean, this obviously directly affects you as well. It's a traumatic experience for any parent, what you've been describing as well. Do you know, obviously our first concern is with Oisín, but for someone like yourself there, 32 hours, it probably felt like 64. You're trying to look after Oisín's best interests in a very, very, very difficult environment.
Yeah, and I suppose the whole time not actually knowing what was wrong with him too was an added worry on top of that. And I mean, the nurses and the doctors, they were fantastic. They were doing their best. I mean, it's a large hospital to get around everybody. But it was just far too long of a time. And even the tests that they were pushing him through and to try and get to the bottom of it, it was just very traumatic for him and for myself having to watch him to go through that as well, and him not understanding exactly what was happening to him.
Oh, it must have been so distressing for him. He was diagnosed then with pneumonia, and once the diagnosis and the bed became available, what was the experience like then?
Well, actually, it wasn't until we got home. I got a phone call from the hospital to say, actually, he has pneumonia, but I wasn't taking him back up. I explained to the doctors, I'm very capable of looking after him at home if I have whatever medication, antibiotics he needs. It just wasn't the environment for him. when he did eventually get the bed, he was put onto the short stay ward, and in that unit in the ward beside him, he was beside 3 elderly men, and it wasn't an ideal situation either. So we just couldn't wait to get out of there. I didn't care what was wrong at that stage. I just knew I had to get him home. So when they phoned out to say he had pneumonia, I said, look, I can mind him. I'll nurse him here at home.
But Tanya, do you feel you were shoehorned into that decision? Do you think that, maybe medically he might be better in Letterkenny University Hospital, but if I factor everything in, I have to say I'd be better off treating him at home. In other words, this is not a decision, if everything was working as it should, this is not, you probably would have taken him back to the hospital.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Like, I would never jeopardize anything, but from looking at the overall picture, I had to get him home because it was actually making him worse being in that environment. And that's a scary thought for a parent if your child is sick, that you don't actually want to end up in that situation. Like, if he gets sick now again, do I take him up there and put him through all that again? What would happen?
Well, you see, this is the problem we find ourselves in now, Tanya, and it's the same with an awful lot of people. Our fear of someone getting sick to us, getting sick close to us, is almost lesser than the fear of them getting so sick that we'd have to take them to hospital. That's what I'm hearing an awful lot out and about, Tanya. It sounds like it's your experience that it's obviously you would never want someone to get sick, but you certainly don't want them to get so sick that you would have to go to the hospital. And it's not necessarily about the illness, it's almost more about the facility itself. And that's really concerning and worrying.
Yeah, so for somebody like Oisín that is a wheelchair user and, it's fully dependent on myself, to have some kind of facility available, that there's somewhere comfortable to freshen up, to relax away from the noisy environment. As you said, he's got autism. Well, he doesn't cope with loud noises, and it was the loudest place I could have possibly brought him that day. It was very, very busy, and I just think a better system in place dealing with people coming in with severe illnesses and medical complex needs. When I have you here, unfortunately, we buried my grandmother last week as well. She was a cancer patient from August in the oncology unit, and every time her bloods or she was called to the hospital, she had to go through the A&E process as well and sit there for all them hours on a trolley or on a chair waiting just to get up to a bed in oncology. Precious time wasted sitting in A&E over the past number of weeks.
It's also the distress on her as well.
A lot of families.
That's very distressful for her in her final years. And I'm
so
sorry if
many
you lost.
people. Yeah.
So then, is this about infrastructure then? Because would they need many more staff to provide a better environment for Oisín? Would they have needed any more staff to say that, with everything considered, he's 6 months over peds, but we're going to admit him there. Like, in other words, we talk an awful lot about how it's understaffed, it needs more money, or it needs the money spent better or whatever. But I think Oisín's experience could have been very much different if there was just a little bit of flexibility and understanding there, Tanya.
I think so too. I mean, there was a lot of staff. They were rushed off their feet as well. Like, there's 2 triage nurses there in A&E. Once you get through, then you're waiting through the department, and it was just packed. It was ambulance steady coming in. But if there was just a quiet place that I could have taken Oisín to wait even, it would have made such a difference to our experience in there. And obviously the 6 months over, if there was a bit of flexibility, if that was the only reason why he couldn't have had a bed. I mean, he's not a typical 16-year-old teenager. So I don't know how, they're obviously looking at his date of birth on a piece of paper, but if they had have come down and actually looked at him and met him, they would have understood the situation.
All right, okay. And as you say, and you've said it in your comments on social media too, all the staff were amazing, but the system's a complete joke. And you've said that too on this programme as well, because there are people that will say, well, I had a good experience and this was it. And that's fine and that's good. But we have to also make sure that we highlight where changes, and not huge changes, need to be made. Is Oisín okay now? Everything is back home and recovering well, I hope, Tanya?
He's back home. He is recovering well, yeah. Just plenty of rest and TLC at home.
Mummy's hugs and kisses, and that'll do. That'll
Exactly.
get him round. Okay. Listen, Tanya, thanks for your time today, and best wishes to all. And again, sorry for your loss, and then having to deal with that stressful situation so soon after. We appreciate you sharing your story, and hopefully it's enlightening to people, and we'll see change at some point.
Thanks very much, Greg.
All right, bye-bye, Tanya. Right, okay, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number.
Customise your Christmas cards or create a photo book using photos from your smartphone or Facebook at mcgees.ie or in store on Main Street, Letterkenny. Sponsors of the 9 till noon show.
Give the gift of gold this Christmas at Armacolla Jewellers in Letterkenny. They have the most exquisite range of earrings, the prettiest of pendants you've ever seen, beautiful bracelets, charming chains and attractive necklaces. Let Armacollas help make it a magical Christmas at the Letterkenny Shopping Centre and Main Street, Letterkenny, or online at armacolla.com.
Claire Clothing on Main Street, Letterkenny has 20% discount off all clothes. We can help you with your Christmas gifting. We have cosy sweaters, handbags, jewellery and gift vouchers with 20% discount off. Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny, beside the Bank of Ireland.
If something's free, why would you turn it down? I mean, a free haircut from a 5-year-old. Oh, no. Or a free sample of onion paste. Oh. Well then, how about a free tour of your neighbour's new shed? Oh, sounds, well... OK, look, they were bad examples. But how about a free eye test and free glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers with your PRSI? Well, that sounds like something to smile about.
Book an appointment or find out more at specsavers.ie.
Enjoy great food this December at Dillon's Hotel, Letterkenny, with a special Christmas lunch and dinner menu available. Book a family visit to see Santa this Sunday the 18th. Enjoy lunch, a gift from Santa and storytelling with Mrs. Claus. For New Year's Eve, there's a 4-course dinner, live music and a complimentary glass of bubbly for just €35. Dillon's Hotel, Letterkenny, with live music every Friday and Saturday night. Visit dillons-hotel.ie.
Woohoo! Just when you thought Christmas Day couldn't get any more magical, M&S have taken all the fuss out of cooking the turkey. Go on. Well, the Irish succulent turkey crown comes with pork, sage and onion stuffing, finished with crispy oak smoked bacon, and is ready to pop straight in the oven.
Oh, thanks, you made me drool all down my front.
So I did. Anyway, this is not just a turkey, this is an M&S turkey.
Selected stores, subject to availability, T's and C's apply.
Are you out Christmas shopping, or do you plan on meeting a friend or two for lunch, dinner or something small? The Tea Room Glencar has everything you need for a cosy catch-up. Open 7 days a week from 7:30 a.m. at Spar, Glencar.
While everyone's obsessing about the Christmas season, you've got a different season on your mind. One where red noses come from shouting your support in the crisp, cold, pitchside air. Where the roaring fire is in your belly, not your sitting room. And the perfect gift is an unexpected win. Don't miss a moment with a GAA season ticket. A gift for yourself or the fan in your life. Available at gaa.ie/season ticket. Are you in? The GAA, where we all belong.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Brendan Shine and Philomena Begley at the Mount Erical Hotel, Letterkenny on January 6th and Millennium Forum Derry on March 18th. Tickets now on sale at both venues and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with Philomena Begley and Brendan Shine in Letterkenny and Derry. The perfect Christmas gift.
Lidl have rolled out the Christmas red carpet. Gold award-winning deluxe Irish cheese boards in store from December 15th, just $9.99. Our deluxe Irish chocolates are so good you won't want to gift them, just $8.99. And get the fizz flowing, Prosecco just $7.99. Do Christmas without compromise at Lidl. More for everyone this Christmas. Always drink responsibly.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment. All have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney and Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Under the one sky, we share all of life's experiences, including grief. It helps so much to talk, to reminisce, to reflect. Irish Hospice Foundation Bereavement Support Line is open for all of us who are grieving. Free phone 1800 80 70 77 to talk to someone in confidence and for a shoulder to lean on.
Great news! Show Tours have released a limited number of tickets priced at €30 for the Joe Dolan Remembering Joe Cabaret Show at the Allingham Arms Hotel, Bundoran this Friday night. The hotel is offering special accommodation rates to help take away those travel worries. Call the Allingham Arms on 071 9841 or book online at showtours.ie.
And now the Highland Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. Widespread Christmas shopping this December in Letterkenny. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
Okay, no change in the weather really. There hasn't been. It's going to stay dry. There'll be some afternoon sunshine. It's going to remain icy and frosty, of course. Temperatures -1 to +2 degrees. Now, almost a quarter of people regret buying a product promoted on social media by an influencer, while just 10% of people in Ireland say they trust the information posted by influencers online. To discuss this, we are joined on the programme now by Grania Griffin, Director of Communications with the Competition and Consumer Protection Agency. I mean, people can make their own decisions, Grania, of course, but, to buy something just based on a familiar face or voice, it could be anything from IVF treatment to Bitcoin. Consumer beware, but obviously a lot of people are falling for this stuff or feel they've been had once they have made a purchase.
Well, we do know that people do trust the influencers that they follow. And I think that's one of the findings that comes through really strongly from this report is that only 10% of consumers say they would trust influencers generally. But when you dig into that, consumers do tend to trust the ones they follow. And what's more, they would potentially even share that influencer recommendation to their friends and family. And obviously it is very impactful because 66%, so that's 2/3 of consumers who follow influencers have purchased a product as a result. And like you said, a significant proportion of those, 1 in 4, were disappointed or felt let down as a result of it.
Yeah, because in a regular advert, it might be maybe a celebrity might be promoting a certain brand of tea, and it doesn't really matter whether they like the tea or not. But it's kind of passive really with influencers because it can be hard to tell whether or not they're recommending a product that they think is great, or whether or not they're getting paid to recommend a product that either they've never used or they don't engage with or they don't think's any good, but the money talks.
Exactly. What's coming through here is that there's a real need for it to be very clear when an influencer is actually in a commercial relationship with the brand. So whether or not they've been gifted the product or paid to promote it, but in some way they're benefiting from it, as opposed to they've gone into a shop or they've gone online, bought something themselves and have decided that they just actually think it's really good and they want to share a recommendation. And obviously those kind of online reviews and recommendations are really valuable to consumers when they are genuine and people do rely on them. But there's a real need for clarity in this area, and I suppose that's why the CCPC is making this commitment to work with the ASAI to say we are going to work on producing new guidance to bring clarity for influencers, for brands and for consumers as to what's expected when you're an influencer working online. What should you be doing so that consumers are sure when they're seeing commercial posts as opposed to just regular posts?
Does it not need to go beyond that though? Because if I decided to clean out the bottom of a well and take out a radio advert and say the stuff I got at the bottom of this well, you can rub it on your head and if you're bald all your hair would grow back. I couldn't do that because it wouldn't be true. But the same sort of are the same standards set for social media. So yes, of course we can be told that it's an advert, but is there anyone checking that the claims contained within that advert are actually accurate?
So consumers cannot be misled by brands or companies. And that's kind of some of the example that you mentioned there. It would be an example of somebody misleading consumers. And so a law does apply to all forms of advertising, and social media influencers are not exempt from that. And there are laws in place. The CCPC can take enforcement action when required.
Yes, but the CCPC clearly aren't doing a very good job here because a significant portion of people who make a purchase off the back of an advertisement they've seen on social media are not happy with it. So before we introduce new laws like a label saying advertisement, well then the CCPC needs to ensure then that the consumer is satisfied with the products they're engaging with off the back of an influencer.
So what we found in this area is that consumers are actually very reluctant to make reports. They tend to just click the unfollow button. And so that's the reason why we've actually been very proactive in this area. And we've really looked to see where can we make a difference, even without having the consumer complaints. So for example, working with our European colleagues over the last year to make sure that TikTok have made various changes to their platform so that consumers can log a report now if they're put forward with unbranded posts. And also we can take further enforcement actions right up to criminal prosecution where there are incidences of significant consumer harm.
Do we know how many times action has been taken, say, for instance, over the last reporting year against misleading advertisement on social media in Ireland?
Well, so there's a number of bodies that are involved in this space, both the ASAI, the Advertising Standards Authority of Ireland, and you have the CCPC. Now, in terms of our own work in this space, in terms of what we've put forward today, and there are like over 70 influencers where we did in-depth analysis of their feeds as part of this report. What we have done is we've put them forward anonymously. We're not naming any of those specific traders in public, and our enforcement work in that regard is something that we can't comment on, I'm afraid.
You can't comment on whether or not you're actually enforcing competition and consumer protection.
As a law enforcement agency, if you have ongoing cases, similar to the guards.
So there's not one that's successfully been concluded that you can tell me about? There's not.
Oh, well, TikTok, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So thousands and thousands, millions of consumers now across Europe, and in particular children, are now using TikTok and able to use facilities on TikTok that they simply wouldn't have been able to before. And those consumers are safer as a result, and we're very proud of our leadership role in that action.
All right, Marius Monaghan's an influencer and adventurer living in Rosnella. I mean, do you recognise, Marius, that there is some issues in this space that the consumer can feel hoodwinked? What's the difference between, a casual recommendation and a paid-for ad?
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking from my own experience, there's been times where a company has kind of pressured me into posting an advert without the hashtag paid advertisement or hashtag ad. So there has been times that's happened to me, and I know with friends of mine in the same industry, it's happened to them. So there's definitely occasions, and there will be influencers and social media personnel out there that do kind of fall under that trap and kind of just do what the company or brand says, with kind of disregard to their following. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the social media personnel to kind of vet that for themselves. In the long term, it's not going to work out for them. The advertiser might get a quick hit there and then, but it's really only doing damage to the person who posts it. The company probably won't take a great hit.
And just, is there a sort of a cozy cartel amongst certain influencers in this country?
Sorry, say that again?
Is there like a cozy cartel of influencers in this country? In other words, they know what's what, they know where the money's at, they know how much to charge.
Well, I wouldn't put it in those terms, a cozy cartel. I would say there's a lot of close-knit groups. There's different types of groups. There are groups that share rates with each other and share information to help each other grow as, independent businesses. But there is also then the other side of the coin where there are influencers who just want to make a quick buck. Like each to their own in that sense. Like, I'm not here to judge anyone if that's what they want to do. Like, so be it. But I suppose the circles I'd surround myself in,
it's not your style.
Probably, yeah, it's not my style. Yeah.
All right, Marius, listen, thanks for the time. I wish I had more of it. Thank you very much, though, for taking the call, Marius Monaghan there. Grania, finally, if people want to raise any concerns with the Competition and Consumer Protection Agency, you're talking about people not reporting. How do they do so?
They can make a report into us on our website, ccpc.ie.
Have a lovely day and happy Christmas to you. Safe shopping. Okay, thank you very much, Grania. Take care of yourself. Well done to Amanda McDade in Letterkenny, who successfully answered our question today. She knew that Christmas Day falls on a Sunday. She has won a bottle of Christian Dior EDT spray for men and is now in the draw. Has a 1 in 5 chance of winning that beautiful Christmas hamper from McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny worth over €500 on Friday. All right, there's more chances to win tomorrow. Have a lovely, lovely Tuesday. Chat to you at 9.
The 9 till noon show with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.